Good morning, everyone. चलिए शुरू करते हैं then. First thing that we have about is Directorate of Enforcement (ED). आप सबको जैसे पता ही होगा, the central government has two personal pet. One of them is ED, the other one is CBI. And it is not about this government. In every government, they have been pets. Okay, which the Congress also used, and even Supreme Court said during Congress time that CBI is a caged parrot. Caged parrot, it's a parrot in a cage which speak the language of the master. Okay, so similarly, you have something called ED. So we have to understand few bits about what is ED. It is important for governance. It's an institution of governance as well as economy to understand economic crimes. Recently, Madras High Court has upheld the ED's arrest of Tamil Nadu minister, whatever his name is, V. Senthil Balaji. Okay. So let's understand what is ED. Directorate of Enforcement is a multidisciplinary organization responsible for investigating economic crimes and the violation of. So this is for prelims level data that you need to know that ED is an institution which is a multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary means because the economic frauds होते हैं, they are multidisciplinary always. They span numerous departments, they span numerous sectors, include corporate, include politicians, include bureaucrats, include judges, and who else cannot be there. Everyone is basically involved. Remember previous Saturday we did something about this. Yes, we did a book that was written on the corporate and political nexus that we did in previous class. So it's a updation over that basically. So ED is a multidisciplinary organization which investigate economic crimes and violation of foreign exchange law. It is under the administrative control of Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. So if you see, it is under the control of Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. It enforced laws like FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. And if anyone has done economics in their life, who control FEMA? Don't know. अच्छा जी, RBI. What is the full form? Foreign Exchange. Who control foreign exchange? RBI. RBI has a fund, something we call Forex. Forex is basically a purse, a kind of purse in which it puts all the foreign currencies. That is Forex. So that we know RBI basically is the main regulating agency. But if you commit any violation of FEMA, then ED comes. बात समझ में? As per regulation, policy, everything is done by RBI. But when it comes to violation of any provision of FEMA, then ED comes in. Next is Prevention of Money Laundering Act, known as PAMLA. Prevention of Money Laundering Act. And the last one is Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. This act was made in the honor of Vijay Mallya. Okay? He fled the country and government was very concerned because people carry out economic crimes and then run out of the country like Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi. There is a list, big list. So to control such kind of people, Modi government passed the law known as Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. Under this, all things basically done by a court, something we call PAMLA court. These are not different courts, these are just regular courts, but they are given only one purpose, that you have to hear cases related to PAMLA, something we call dedicated courts. They are normal courts. They also carry out normal businesses like other cases. But when it comes to PAMLA, some courts in the district are designated as PAMLA courts. They hear only the cases related to PAMLA. It was done because these economic crimes I told you are very multidimensional. It's not easy to find out who did what. Or वैसे भी money you cannot see. Money is something which is not easily available. It is not people. If somebody commits a murder, you can see that person. In this, people dies, but nobody can see who did what. Clear? So for that we have a special code known as PAMLA code. So this is some basic economics and basic internal security level information that you must know, because money laundering, जैसे हमने इसमें टर्म इस्तेमाल करी, किसी को कुछ आइडिया व्हाट इज मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग? हाँ, यस, काइंड ऑफ रेसिस्ट टर्म, बट ठीक है. ठीक है. Illegitimate money to legitimate money, the conversion process. You will do that in internal security. There are 3 stages basically: placement, layering, and integration. Every money laundering involves 3 stages: placement, layering, and integration. Placement में you put that illegit money in some form of investment, be it shares, be it bonds, be it infrastructure, wherever it is possible to put such kind of money. And the favorite place for all this is like casinos, like real estate. If you have ever bought any flat or आपको idea हो, so there is one price which you pay legally and there is other price which you pay illegally. ठीक है, 90 crore flat, it may be a 90 crore rupees of flat or a building, but legally you account only 50 crores. The 40 crores is always a part of black money. Okay? So that is a kind of placement. Some countries like Saudi Arabia, very friendly countries, okay? Honorable countries like Saudi Arabia. So these kind of countries, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, they allow you to invest whatever kind of money in their country, because they all care about is money. They don't care आपने murder करा है क्या करा है. Nobody cares. They simply cares बस पैसा आना चाहिए. Okay? There are a lot of countries in the world like that, and some countries we call tax havens. That आपने नाम सुना होगा. Tax havens. These are countries which put near zero corporate tax. All they say is, come to my country, bring this amount of investment, and you can be registered here. Clear? So that is placement. Once placement is done, then you do the layering. Layering means moving the money rapidly from different account, different investment. Because if it is at one place, it can be traced. But if it is moving in different sectors, you cannot find it out. Who is responsible? So the investigative agency, they can find illegit money only here. Placement pay, there are chances you can find. Once you successfully place your money, then these stages are automatic and no agency in this world has the power to find the money once it is in layering or integration. For example, India has a large amount of FDI. What is FDI? What is the biggest feature? Previous Saturday, or I don't know when, we did difference between FDI, FPI, FII, QFI. किसी को याद नहीं लग रहा मुझे. That's so different. But what is FDI? अरे full form मत बताओ. What is FDI? हाँ तो कई तरह के इन्वेस्टमेंट आ सकता है. It can, हाँ, kind of. So basically, it's a long-term. Yes, Lalita. Yes, it's a kind of long-term. So basically, it's a long-term investment, and the prime feature here is effective control over investment. In FDI, you do long-term investment and you maintain effective control. Majority of India's FDI is believed to round tipping of money. It is round tipping of money. Matlab, you earn black money in India, you go to tax havens like Mauritius and someplace else. From there, you round tip the money. Remember the Adani case I told you? Adani case mein, this was the accusation. We do not know what that person did because there was no investigation on him. So हमें idea भी नहीं है. Only thing that we know is he inflated his prices. Share prices, he inflated. How he inflated? He round tipped the money. He routed the money from India to tax haven countries. There were some companies called shell companies. Shell company means any company which is only on paper, which is doing business but on paper only. So from there, he brought investment in his shares through FDI process. So it is believed a large amount of India's FDI is round tipping of money. But then you may think, why government allows this? It's a common fact. Everyone knows majority of FDI is a round tipping of money. Then why government do not take any action? Because if we take any action, then even this round tipping will not come back. The round tipping, we understand it's round tipping, but at least the money is coming back, na? If you take strict action, then even this money will not come back. Then you will lose this money forever. You will understand that in economics, there are a lot of things that we do just for the convenience of the time. Similarly, we have a process that you will do in economics known as P notes. सुनाओ आप लोगों ने P notes, participatory notes. Participatory notes, earlier there was no KYC norm on participatory notes. Something we call KYC, know your customer. So what used to happen in share market, India allowed P notes, participatory note. Imagine karte hain, you are an American or maybe Indian living in America. So you want to invest in Indian share market. For that, you must be registered with an organization called SEBI, Security and Exchange Board of India. But if you are not registered and still you want to invest in India, how come you do that? P notes. You will go to a foreign company which is registered on Indian stock market with SEBI. It will issue, you will give them money and it will issue you a participatory note. You can take this note and come to India and start doing transactions on share market. The best thing about P notes is nobody knows who gave the money and how they gave the money. It was never mentioned on P note and we allowed the P notes. Why? Same reason. At least the money is coming back to India. If you put KYC norms in P notes, then even this money will not come back, and we needed this money. We are a developing country. We need a lot of money for infrastructure and everything. So we allowed it. Recently, SEBI has introduced KYC now because now we think we are sufficiently having the money. We don't need any more of this kind of money. Clear? So FDI, P notes, all these are basically economic frauds. And economic frauds not only include multiple companies, corporate, politicians, bureaucrats, judges. It also includes multiple countries. And that's why it becomes virtually impossible to टेक केयर ऑफ एन इकोनॉमिक क्राइम। यहाँ तक बात समझ में आ रही है? व्हाट इज द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम हियर? चलिए देख लेते हैं। तो व्हाट इज द कॉम्पोजिशन ऑफ ईडी? द ईडी इज हेडेड बाय अ डायरेक्टर हु इज एन IRS officer of the rank of Additional Director General of Revenue. That person is of course appointed by central government. That I've told you earlier also, all top positions are political appointments. In any institution, be it police, be it administrative, be it ministry, any institution X, Y, Z, always the top boss is a political appointee. And that's how they make sure that I will appoint a person I like, not the person the people like. A very good example is Kiran Bedi. Kiran Bedi was to be promoted as a commissioner of police in Delhi, but her junior was promoted. She resigned. Of course, insult करी गई. Why it was done? Too honest. The problem with the system is system has everything. ठीक है? It has every component and every component is well linked to each other. अब कोई honest व्यक्ति क्या होता है? वो problem create करता है. It disturbs the system. And system फिर क्या करता है? उसे बाहर कर देता है. कहता है चलो तुम निकलो. We will have something else. बात समझ में आ रही है? So that is the biggest problem we have. So all appointment, even if you do not know, you can always assume that all appointment are basically by the central government for union and by the state government for states, and all of them are political appointment. The tenure will be 2 years with an extension that can be given for 1 year. So this is some prelims level facts you must know. चलिए अगला देख लेते हैं. Along with this, it has a number of special directors, joint directors, deputy directors. It has number of regional officers, sub-regional officers. Okay. Now let us look at the acts. I have told you few acts. First act that we have is Prevention of Money Laundering Act. What kind of law is it? What is the difference between a criminal law and a civil law? कुछ तो बोल दिया करो यार. देखिए, civil crimes are basically of lesser intensity, if you want to say it. For example, stealing, frauding, economic fraud. These are of civil nature, which include monetary penalty plus jail time, but maximum a simple imprisonment. That is around 6 months or something. Criminal laws are of higher degree. Criminal crimes are of higher degree, and they involve jail time as a compulsory component along with fines or penalties. Okay. What is a criminal? This is a philosophy. But which law will be criminal or civil depends upon the parliament's will. Parliament can declare any law as civil, any law as criminal. For example, earlier bouncing of checks. If you write a check and it bounces, it was a civil offense. तो लोग मजे में चेक लिखते रहते थे. अब बड़ी परेशानी हो रही थी because check is a fiduciary. So then you write a check, somebody expect कि this check on which you have written, it must be able to clear itself in the bank. अब वो बैंक जाते थे, बैंक वाला कहता था इसके अकाउंट में पैसे ही नहीं है. This person does not have money in their account. So government got angry and ultimately government made check bounce a criminal offense. So right now bouncing of check is a criminal offense. But mind it do include, agar by philosophy we go, it is basically of civil nature. But because government defined it criminal, so be it, it is criminal. The most important thing about this law is these two things. It allows provisional attachment of any property which is assumed to be an outcome of money laundering, plus the prosecution of offense in special court. What kind of special courts? PAMLA courts. Okay. Next we have is FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. It is a civil law. And I told you who regulate FEMA, RBI. Okay, so it is designated to facilitate external trade, payments, development of foreign exchange market, so on and so forth. Everything dealing with basically foreign exchange comes under FEMA, under the policy of RBI, as per RBI decides. And who is responsible for investigation of these crimes? ED. Okay. Next, Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. I told you it is basically to declare economic offenders who evade Indian laws by going to abroad. Vijay Mallya, Mehul Choksi, Nirav Modi, there are numerous examples. These people carried out economic crimes and then ran to some alien country. ED is empowered to attach properties in this case also. But for this, ED first goes to Pamela court. ED first goes to a Pamela court and asks the Pamela court, please declare this person a fugitive economic offender. And if the court declares so, then ED can attach any asset. Then ED can seize any property of that person anywhere in India, including any tangible or non-tangible assets, like physical property or bank account, etc., etc. Clear? So these are the three laws that ED enforce. Next, sponsoring agency under, बड़ा अजीब सा नाम है ये, Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Act. So it is also an agency for this act. So how many laws ED enforce? 4. Which one? Pamela, FEMA, Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, FUA. Last is क्या लिखा है ये? कॉफे पोसा. ठीक है? So these acts basically are enforced by ED. What is the criticism? I told you, very common criticism, that it is often used for targeting political opponent, or it is very evident a person who has a ED case or a CBI case, as long as they are in opposition, they have a case. The second they switch to the ruling party, there is no case. There are numerous people like this, and that's why it is said, na, government has a washing machine. You go corrupt, you come out clean. Again, that washing machine works through ED. ED is the power which provides, ED is the washing machine basically. ठीक है, power कहीं और से आती है. And harass businesses. Any business that basically says something to you, you start harassing them. Very good example, if you remember, we discussed the case of BBC. BBC published a documentary over the Lord Modi. ठीक है, so BBC published a documentary. ठीक है, so government got a bit angry. Government tried to first ban it. Ban did not work. Then ED, CBI comes into play and they start raiding BBC offices. A very nice gesture. ठीक है, anyway, so that is what we have. Press freedom में वैसे भी हम बहुत आगे जा चुके हैं. ठीक है, so clear. Political, the biggest criticism of ED is it is always used to target political opponents and businesses. Any business that basically works against you. Very good example is ED raided the office of National Herald, which is owned by Gandhi family, Nehru Gandhi family. ठीक है, lack of transparency. The another problem with ED is its investigations. They are very secretive. There are two reasons behind this. First, it must be secretive, because if ED disclose somebody's name, it brings bad reputation, and we cannot assume everyone is a crook. We are not Arvind Kejriwal कि सबको बोलते फिर तू भी चोर है, तू भी चोर है, तू भी चोर है. So just because somebody is saying कि somebody has done a crime, we cannot assume that that person is criminal. तो कहते हैं ना legal principle, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So इसलिए it has been kept secret, which I believe is a good idea. But the problem is when you are using that institution for political assassination, then it becomes a problem. Getting the point? This is basically a governance problem. Remember, institutions are neither bad nor good. It depends who run them. It always depends who run the institution. Depending on that, the institution becomes bad or good. I hope you remember I gave you an example of Chief Election Commissioner T.N. Session. That very marvelous person who introduced this voter ID that you all people have. And he introduced phased elections. He said, I will not allow election to happen in one phase. There will be multi-phase election even within a state. Before him, in a state, election used to happen on one date. मान लेते Bihar. So there will be one date of Bihar and all the Bihar will vote for this. But he said, no. Wherever I will feel that there is a chances of vote fraud, booth capturing, आपने देखा था recent में बंगाल में हुआ था. इस तरह के if there is a chances, then what I will do, I will go for phased election. फायदा क्या होता है phase का? If I am having phased election, I can move all armed forces at one time. If there is a troubled area, I can dominate that area with armed forces completely, so that the voting is free and fair. और फिर उसके बाद government was very angry. Government was like, तुम ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हो? ठीक है, we like to steal election, not win election. So government got a bit angry, and every party, irrespective of their nature, was angry over this voter ID concept. They are like, we don't like this idea. Okay, vote fraud is our birthright. So this happened. Ultimately, what happened? The TN session said, if you will not allow this to happen, I will not have even a single election in this country. I am the chief election commissioner. I have the responsibility. No voter ID, no elections. Let's enjoy. Government was like, ठीक है यार, बुरा मत मानो, let's do this. And then a journalist asked to the TN session कि भाई इतने guts लाते कहाँ से हो? Then he was like, I eat politicians in breakfast. He popularly said that. मैं नेताओं को नाश्ते में खाता हूँ, मैं वहां से guts लाता हूँ. Clear? So it's a good example to show, which you can also put as a case study or some example in ethics GS paper 4. But what it highlights, आज उसी institution की हालत देखिए. Same institution which has TN session, same institution नहीं बदला है. The election commission is the same, the powers are the same, the constitutional authority is the same, but because the election commissioners are now different. So this is with every institution, irrespective of everything. Depending upon who is in power, the nature of institution change. And I've always said, an independent institute serves the people. A dependent institute serves the government. And that's why no government like independent institutes. So what we can do for that? There is a law called Independent Institution Act. It's a suggestion by the civil society. Civil society is suggesting Parliament must pass a law known as Independent Institution Act. After this law, all the top appointment of every institution, ED, CBI, whatever is there, will be done by a bipartisan committee, or through UPSC you can do this. And best example is why an IRS officer must head ED. If anyone who is a good economist can head ED. Getting the point? Why only IRS? Why only government servant? Why not other people? Especially the people who are out of the government, because they will not be touched by the politics of the government. So what we can do, we can put UPSC in between. UPSC can put a notification, open advertisement for any Indian to apply, irrespective of whether they are in services or not. And it can put conditions. If we want this qualification, we want this kind of experience, we want this kind, whatever condition you want to put, let it be an open advertisement. All 140 crore Indians are available to apply. Whosoever thinks that person can handle the position can apply. Then UPSC can conduct interview, and then it can recommend 3 names or 4 names, whatever it likes. The government then can pick any one of those names. That can be done through a process called Independent Institutions Act. तो आपको लगता है कभी पास होगा? तो बस फिर कहानी खत्म. चलिए आगे चलते हैं. Next is low conviction rate. The first problem is political assassination. Second problem is क्या था? Shrouded in secrecy, lack of transparency. The third problem is low conviction rate. ED का marvelous record 1%. ठीक है, इतना बढ़िया रिकॉर्ड चलाते हैं ये लोग. तो ED is record because देखिए there are two problems. One is also political assassination, but another problem I told you, economic crimes are hard to prove. Economic crimes are literally very, very, very hard to prove because it involves multiple institutes, it involves multiple agencies, it even involves multiple countries. So it becomes hard. The ED is an institution in India. It can at most look at documents, files, reports in India. But what about a person who has offshore account, and every corporate has that? So it is also less, not because the institution is bad, but also because the crime is very difficult to prove. Clear? There are two reasons. One, because the cases are filed only for political assassination. The second reason is the crimes are very, very, very hard to prove. But nonetheless, ED has a marvelous record of 1%. Nice. Next, increased raids. There is around 27 times high. During Congress time, whatever rate they used to do, it is 27 times high in 2022 as compared to 2004. And so far, ED has convicted out of all those rates only 23%, which is better than Congress, of course. Congress में it was 0, nada. In BJP, at least it is 23. नहीं ऐसा नहीं है. कुछ लोग वाकई में criminals हैं. I'm telling you, there are two problems ना. One is the political assassination. The other problem is genuinely economic crimes are very hard to prove. It is literally very hard to prove economic crimes. The money easily flow from here to there. Next. So what could be solution? I told you one. There could be a independent oversight body we can have. The other solution I told you, Independent Institute Act we can enforce. Then we can increase the financial resource. Okay, these are very common things that we have. But most important thing that I will believe is this thing. Any institution, howsoever weak, if autonomous, can literally works. Any institution, howsoever powerful, if not autonomous, cannot work. A very good example, election commission I've told you is the most powerful election commission in the world. Not only in India, in the world. Election commission is so powerful. When election comes out, election commission can decide anything. It can cancel anyone's candidature, including the Prime Minister of India himself. वो किसी को भी पनिश कर सकते हैं. They can remove anyone from any position. आप कुछ भी हो, doesn't matter. When election comes, election commission becomes the government in India. It has all the power whatsoever required, including it can terminate anyone, suspend anyone, remove anyone. Anyone means anyone, except judiciary, of course. उनको छोड़ के वो लोग थोड़े अलग हैं. ठीक है, clear? So these are the things that we can have. चलिए next news पे जाते हैं. This is a very important thing. Rajasthan platform-based gig workers bill. First question that we need to understand, there are two kind of employment that we need to know economics से. Formal and informal. Also sometimes we call organized and unorganized. What is the biggest difference between both? Formal employment is an employment that kind of includes social security. Job security is very different thing. Job security, मैंने आपको बताया, even government में you do not have a job security. It is, you can say you have relatively better job security, but it is not absolute, because Modi government has terminated a lot of IAS and IPS services before retirement on the grounds of incompetence. Modi government ने कई IAS IPS को निकाल दिया है जॉब से on the ground that these people were incompetent, inefficient, and government can do that. All servants, IAS IPS, whatever you are controlled by civil services rules created by the President of India himself. And under that rule, if the government feels that you are no longer required, or you are inefficient, or you are incompetent, government can terminate your service at will. वो ये बात अलग है, थोड़ा इंक्वायरी वगैरह होता है, but government can say bye bye. ठीक है? So job security, absolute job security is not available anywhere, but nonetheless relatively better. Such kind of jobs are called formal, and the remaining are called informal. And we know that 90% of Indian works in. This figure varies. Some reports say 70, some say 80, some say 90, but assume it is around 90. Clear? Within this, a new sector is emerging, something we call gig economy or gig workers. Now let's see what they are first. थोड़ा नीचे आइएगा, दिख जाएगा next page पे. Then we will come to the bill. First, let us understand what is gig worker. A gig economy is a labor market characterized by short-term contracts and freelance work. So gig working is available in all the three sectors of economy: primary, secondary, and tertiary. It is available everywhere. Even in primary, you can work like a gig worker on contract or short-term basis or freelancing basis. Same goes in secondary, same goes in tertiary. In all three sectors, you can work. Even you may be employed by a company that is a formal company. For example, Zomato. Zomato is a proper company. It's a big company. It has employees which are regularly paid employees, just like a normal employee of any company. Along with that, it has people who work only on the basis of contract. For example, the delivery boys. They are the part of gig working. And it is very common. Gig working, do not assume that these people are disadvantaged. ऐसा नहीं है. There are a lot of people who earn lakhs of rupees per month by gig working. How they earn? Basically, for example, even in tertiary services, If you have ever gone to any private hospital something, आपने देखा होगा वहाँ क्या लिखा होता है? Consultant fee. Majority of the doctors in government hospitals are not employee of the hospital. They are like gig workers. They are kind of freelancers. They come to the hospital for a brief period of time, 2 hours or 3 hours. In that they see the patients and they charge something called consultation fee, in which one part goes to the doctor, the remaining part goes to the hospital. Of course, the majority part goes to the hospital because their infrastructure is being used for that. ठीक है? तो freelancing, understand again, does not mean a bad work. Does not mean a bad work. A lot of people earn lakhs of rupees per month by gig working. Clear? However, majority of the people that we are talking about, they are literally disadvantaged here. Because the biggest problem with gig working is no social security. You may be earning 2 lakh rupees per month, but there is no guarantee you will get anything. बात समझ में आ रही है? Particularly, we are concerned about people like Zomato delivery boys, Swiggy delivery boys, Flipkart, Amazon. There are numerous platform-based gig working. Clear? So recently, Niti Aayog published a report titled India's Booming Gap and Platform Economy in 2022. In this report, it has defined gig worker as an individual engaged in income earning activities outside traditional employee-employer relation. तो ट्रेडिशनल आप समझते हैं ना, यू आर वर्किंग फॉर समबडी, दैट पर्सन ओन्स, दैट पर्सन पुट यू ऑन द रोल. ये जो ट्रेडिशनल एम्प्लॉय एम्प्लॉयर रिलेशनशिप है, इससे बाहर जिस भी तरह की एम्प्लॉयमेंट होगी, दैट एम्प्लॉयमेंट विल बी नोन एज गिग वर्किंग. दिस मच इज क्लियर. प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस टर्म. Maybe it can be directly asked in prelims. Consider the following statement about gig economy. Then UPSC will give you 2 to 4 statement. Then it will give you answer only 1, only 2, only 3, only 4. Okay. No. So this kind of statement, please remember, they come handy in prelims. And prelims where UPSC play with language. That's why ChatGPT failed UPSC prelims. Not because it does not have knowledge, but because it cannot understand manipulated languages. ठीक है क्या? हाँ, ट्रेनिंग चल रही है. Anyway, so that is the reason, because UPSC manipulated languages. कहीं वो छोटा छोटा वर्ड बदल देते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दे कैन सिंपली से आउटसाइड ऑफ द एम्प्लॉय रिलेशनशिप एक्सेप्ट ट्रेडिशनल. पूरा स्टेटमेंट लिखेंगे, एक आध वर्ड आगे पीछे कर देते हैं. एंड यू आर लाइक, ये तो मैंने ऐसा ही पढ़ा था. एंड यू आर लाइक, ये तो गलत होगा नहीं, दुनिया में कुछ भी गलत हो जाए. एंड यू मार्केट एंड फिर कहते हो ये क्या हुआ. Getting the point? So UPSC often plays in language, so do read the question very carefully. ठीक है, language playing is a lot of there, and also in informal sector. I told you it doesn't matter. You may be working in a formal company or organized company, but you yourself will be working like a part-time or a freelancer. So the two criteria is freelancing work or short-term contract, and you are outside of the traditional employee-employer relationship. And maybe in informal. मैं फिर कह रहा हूँ, कंपनी में बी ऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर कंपनी इन विच यू आर वर्किंग, बट यू योरसेल्फ इज इनफॉर्मल. बात समझ में आ रही है सबको? प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस डिस्टिंक्शन. If, for example, UPSC says, consider the following statement about gig economy, then it gives you an option that in this, a person works in informal sector only. Right or wrong? Wrong. You can be working in formal sector also, but you yourself is informal. बात समझ में आ रही है सबको? Please understand this difference. Classification of gig workers, very, very, very important. There are two kind of gig workers: platform-based and non-platform-based. Platform-based basically आपको पता ही है, these online software and digital platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, whatever is not there. Next is non-platform. Non-platform, I told you, even you can work in primary and secondary sectors. Like you have been employed by a farmer on freelancing. You are employed by a farmer on freelancing that you will work on this farm for this season, next season की हम बाद में देखेंगे. So such kind of jobs can also be there. Such jobs will be called non-platform. So clear, gig worker means anyone who is working outside of the traditional employer-employee relationship. There are two kind of gig workers. One is platform-based, other is non-platform based. Platform based means when you use some online portal, software, website, whatever is there, and for other things you use normal relation, primary sector, secondary, tertiary. And gig worker can work in all sectors, primary, secondary, and tertiary. Gig worker may be employed by a company which is an organized or unorganized company, but he himself is informal. Clear are these all terms? Please remember them. सिग्निफिकेंस तो आपको बताइए, सबसे बड़ा फायदा क्या होता है? Time flexibility and income flexibility. You do not have to spend 8 hours in an office. It's up to you. Work whenever you like, because you are given a target. Yeah, I want, for example, an article. UPSC maybe a lot of coaching institute, they involve gig workers. खासकर आप जैसे बच्चे, the students who are preparing for civil service, ना, they think क्यों ना थोड़ा extra पैसा कमाया जाए. So what they do, they associate with an institute, but of course आप लोग नहीं कर पाएंगे अभी. When you clear prelims or main something, तब इंस्टीट्यूट आपको एम्प्लॉय कर लेते हैं. What they say is you write articles, you write questions, you write check questions, so you are paid on work basis. If they say institute, say for example some institute say I want 2 articles per week from you and you will pay 200 rupees per article. तो आपको कहीं नहीं जाना. You never have to go to the institute, you never have to work there. All you have to do is from your house just write 2 articles from current affairs or whatever and give to them. They evaluate it, give you 400 rupees. Say for example a lot of institute vision वगैरह सब लोग क्या करते हैं, फॉर आंसर राइटिंग कॉपी चेक के लिए 500 रुपए देते हैं कॉपी का. और कौन चेक करता है? ये मत सोचना गलती से भी कि टीचर चेक करते हैं. ये गलतफहमी दूर कर दो, आप ही लोग चेक कर रहे हो तो खुद ही के पेपर. हाउ इट वर्क्स, द पीपल हु हैव स्पेंड फ्यू इयर्स इन यूपीएससी, मान लेते हैं हु हैव क्लियर मेंस, ज्यादा विजन का मुझे पता है उसमें मेंस का क्राइटेरिया. इफ यू हैव क्लियर द मेंस यू कैन वर्क देयर एज अ कॉपी चेकर. तो जितनी टेस्ट सीरीज आप लेते हैं, those test series are not checked by teacher anywhere in any institute. तो ये myth में मत जाना. Those are checked by the people like you who are preparing for civil services, who think I need some extra money on the side. और अच्छा भी होता है, एक कॉपी चेक करो 500 रुपए ले जाओ. ठीक है, क्लियर है? तो no teacher checks your paper, तो इस myth में मत रहिएगा. क्लियर? तो these are kind of gig working. It gives you time flexibility and income flexibility. अच्छा भी है, बहुत लोगों के लिए अच्छा है, खासकर आई बिलीव स्टूडेंट्स के लिए बहुत ही अच्छा है. आपकी बात अलग है, योर पेरेंट्स में अफोर्ड यू, बट देयर आर लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट हु वांट टू प्रिपेयर फॉर यूपीएससी. नोबडी गिव्स देम मनी, दे हैव टू सर्वाइव बाय देमसेल्फ. उनके लिए बहुत अच्छा है ये. व्हाइल प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर यूपीएससी ऑल यू हैव टू गिव इज गिव 2 hours एंड राइट सम आर्टिकल फॉर सम इंस्टीट्यूट और सम चेक सम कॉपीज. यू विल गेट सफिशिएंट मनी फॉर योर सर्वाइवल फॉर द मंथ. तो थोड़ा बहुत पैसा भी मिल जाएगा. You do not have to depend on your parents. Honorable work भी है, घर से निकलना भी नहीं है, उसी कमरे में बैठ के आर्टिकल भी लिखना, पढ़ना भी है, पढ़ाई भी एक्स्ट्रा हो जाती है बिकॉज आप पढ़ ही रहे हैं वैसे भी, आप स्टडिंग फॉर करंट अफेयर्स एनीवे. तो व्हाट यू डू इज यू जस्ट क्रिस्टलाइज इट इन एन आर्टिकल. पैसे भी कमा लिए, पढ़ाई भी हो गई. इट इज गुड फॉर द पीपल. आई बिलीव इट्स वेरी 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 गुड, पर्टिकुलरली फॉर द स्टूडेंट्स हु हैव नो वन टू सपोर्ट देम, हु प्रिपेयर फॉर देमसेल्फ बाय देमसेल्फ थ्रू देमसेल्फ. ठीक है, डेमोक्रेसी है वो लोग. क्लियर है? तो चलिए अब आते हैं, लेट्स कम बैक टू द लॉ. अब देखते हैं क्या कर रहा है राजस्थान गवर्नमेंट ने. तो सो फार गिग सबको क्लियर हो गया ना, गिग इकोनॉमी. अब देखते हैं व्हाट वाज द लॉ. राजस्थान, इसमें मेन चीज आपको याद रखनी है, इट कवर्स ओनली प्लेटफॉर्म बेस्ड गिग वर्कर्स. इट डज नॉट कवर अदर काइंड ऑफ गिग वर्कर्स, ओनली प्लेटफॉर्म बेस्ड, particularly your Zomato, Swiggy, whatever is there. I believe it's a very, very beautiful law, and I think the central government should bring this law as soon as possible. But the question comes is, would they bring this law? No. क्यों? नहीं. I'm talking about union government, neoliberal. The current government has a neoliberal orientation, and a neoliberal government does not interfere in economy. It let the economy play through demand and supply. Anyway, you will do that. But nonetheless, law is very good. Next, इसमें first provision is registration. All the gig workers and aggregators. Aggregator means Zomato, Swiggy, all these platforms are known as aggregator. They aggregate the gig workers. All the gig workers and aggregator in the state shall maintain, who are maintaining a comprehensive database and issue unique IDs. Very, very important. Every gig worker must be registered. Every aggregator who is using gig workers must be registered, and everyone will be issued a unique ID. ठीक है. From that unique ID, of course, we can trace them. We can trace how much salary they are getting, and if we can also see this unique ID to Aadhaar, and Aadhaar is linked to your PAN card and bank account. So the government can know whether you are being paid on time or not. The government can know what is the working hours. Everything government can know, which I believe is very good. Second, welfare board. There will be a welfare board consisting of state officials, 5 representatives from gig workers and aggregators, and 2 additional members from civil society. Out of this, 1/3 must be women. Okay, 1/3 must be women. So another very good provision. There will be a welfare board which will compose of these following people. This welfare board can impose something called welfare fee. That welfare fee will be collected in a fund called workers fund. सबको समझ में आया? Everyone will be registered and you will have a gig working kind of association. That association will have some composition जो आपने यहाँ पढ़ी ली. That association can levy a kind of fee on every company that is using gig workers. That all money collected will be composed or will be collected in a fund known as workers fund. From this fund, the government can provide various facilities like social security. If मान लेते हैं you are working in gig economy, and of course I told you do not have social security, but मान लेते हैं you get ill, you need money. From where you can get that? From this fund. को समझ में आ रहा है? Everyone will have to pay a fee which can be collected at a place and can be used for the welfare of the workers. Very good provision. Next, penalty for violators. Penalty will be imposed for aggregators who fail to pay the welfare fee on time. This provision is not important to remember. Just remember they will be penalized. Absolute figure is not important, but for your reference मैंने बता दिया है. At least 12% per annum का लगेगा extra interest. Penalty plus 12%, sorry, your fee plus 12% per annum of interest you have to pay. So this is not very important to remember. Just remember this. If you fail to pay the welfare fee, you have to pay a penalty. Okay? Additionally, in case of violation of other provisions of the law, the state government has the authority to impose fines. Okay? Ranging from 5 lakh for the first contravention to 50 lakh for the subsequent contravention. जिन्हें बोलते हैं habitual offenders. ठीक है? Significance आपको पता है, छोड़े क्या पढ़ेंगे. Anyway, clear है? Very important. You can take that. Maybe UPSC may ask directly, but usually UPSC does not ask directly from states. If it would be a union law, the UPSC may ask directly in mains. Prelims में तो ये नहीं आने वाला. Prelims में what will come? What is gig economy? What is gig worker? What are the features? What are the definitions? That will come in prelims. This is all basically is mains content. And how will you use this? As an example, if UPSC gives you a question on gig economy, there you have to use something as an example of a good law that can be made for every Indian in the entire India. सबको समझ में आ रहा how you will use this content? It is mains oriented, but the remaining one, gig workers and below, is for prelims. And some suggestions है हमारे पास, प्यारे प्यारे suggestion आए हैं. And the observation by नीति आयोग रिपोर्ट, जो भी नाम मैंने आपको बताया था, पढ़ लेना. According to the report, 47% of the gig worker falls in medium skills, 22% in high skills, and 31% in low skills. And majority of the gig workers are drivers and sales person. ठीक है? Absolute figure याद मत रखिएगा, बस ये याद रखिएगा that gig worker में skills based पे the maximum are medium skill, then comes the low skill, then comes the high skill. ठीक है? Medium, low and high. This is the order. बस don't remember this figure, remember the order only. And majority of the gig workers are drivers and sales persons. ठीक है? बाकी अगेन ये फिगर्स याद करने की जरूरत नहीं, मैंने आपको पहले ही बता दिया. बस रिमेंबर अ जनरल आइडिया, हु इज मोर, हु इज लेस, दैट्स इट. चलिए, व्हाट आर नीति आयोग रिकमेंडेशन फॉर दिस, दैट यू विल राइट लाइक वे फॉरवर्ड। अगर कोई क्वेश्चन आता है मेंस में तो वे फॉरवर्ड कैसे लिखना है। पहला तो ये रिपोर्ट क्या कहती है, प्रमोट जेंडर इंक्लूसिव कम्युनिकेशन बाय हैविंग मोर वुमेन मैनेजर एंड सुपरवाइजर। इसमें हम थोड़ी देर बाद में लास्ट में एक रिपोर्ट है वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट गैप समथिंग, ठीक है। तो उसमें आई टोल्ड यू दैट it is there are two barriers to the rise of a woman in any field, including government jobs I'm talking about. If you look at the top position, be it in private or in government services, it is always upper caste male. Irrespective of private or government, the top position is always held by upper caste male, neither the lower caste nor the minority nor the woman, because stereotypes work. They always work and they always work in every single field. Every year भी हम सुनते हैं ना कि टॉप 5 में 6 में लड़कियां लड़कियां, लेकिन वो कभी टॉप पोजीशन पे नहीं होंगी। इसमें उनके टैलेंट की प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, प्रॉब्लम है नेचुरल बायसेस। मैंने आपको एक टर्म बताई थी, इफ यू रिमेंबर, ग्लास सीलिंग। इसको याद है, ग्लास सीलिंग वी टॉक्ड अबाउट। इट्स अ सीलिंग, अ रूफ। व्हेन यू राइज you do not see it, but when you reach to a certain level, then you start feeling that something is stopping you from rising, but you cannot see that thing. That's why it is called glass ceiling. It is there but you cannot see it. And I told you there are both kind of reason, artificial as well as natural reason. Particularly natural reason में you have two. For example, if there is a manager, मान लेते हैं, आपको ही मान लेते हैं, और ऐसा नहीं है कि just because top boss is man तो मैन को ही प्रमोट कर रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है। Mamata Banerjee is woman chief minister. Look at the composition of her top bureaucrats, all are male. ऐसा नहीं है कि it is only about the man. It doesn't matter. The problem is if you are a manager, मान लेते you're a woman manager, ठीक है, you have two people. You have two people you have hired equally capable, a male and a female. मान लेते both are software engineers, and most of the software engineer works at night because they have foreign clients. So whom you will be comfortable to call at any time? Of course, male. ठीक है, and of course if you are a male superior, then with whom you will go to parties. And keep this in mind, the bonding, the real bonding in every business I'm talking about, be it government job, private job, businesses, takes place after job. Job mein to you're doing your work. After when office gets over, you go to parties, and there the male has distinct advantage always. And now imagine if you have to promote one of them, whom will you promote? Of course, then woman has superpowers. ठीक है, they can set the boss himself. ठीक है, सीधी सी बात है, आप प्रमोट हो गए, वो मालिक बन जाएगी। ठीक है, ये भी हो सकता है, बट ठीक है, देयर आर वेरी फ्यू वुमेन, बट द प्रॉब्लम दैट इज नेचुरली अवेलेबल। बात समझ में आई? तो दिस दैट्स व्हाई दे व्हाट दे आर सेइंग, नीति आयोग इज सेइंग दैट इन सीनियर पोजीशन, कहां गया, सॉरी, मैनेजर्स एंड सुपरवाइजर्स में हैव मोर वुमेन। बट मैं फिर भी कह रहा हूं कि इसका कोई खास फायदा नहीं होगा। Even if you have a woman in the higher position, they are less likely to promote a woman. It is very common. आप कभी, अगर आपने कभी काम करा किसी भी ऑफिस में, ask any supervisor, वो हमेशा बोलेंगे it is easy for me to get the male work on a project. लड़कियों से काम करवाना बड़ा मुश्किल है। आप किसी से भी पूछ लेना, they literally say कि यार ये फीमेल सबऑर्डिनेट से काम कराना बड़ा ही मुश्किल पड़ता है, लड़के 2 मिनट में काम करते थे। So when this kind of things happen, of course, I can guarantee you इससे कुछ खास फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, but at least sentimental तो है ही। ठीक है, अगला पॉइंट, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है एंड अ गुड पॉइंट। ऑफर व्हाट? रिटायरमेंट प्लान, इंश्योरेंस कवरेज एंड सोशल सिक्योरिटी बेनिफिट। And for this, the fund that Rajasthan bill proposed is very good fund. The welfare fund, the workers fund, empowered by a welfare fee imposed on all gig economic companies, and government can contribute a part. कुछ पार्ट सरकार दे देगी, कुछ पार्ट कंपनियां दे देंगी, कुछ हमसे तो लूट ही लेंगे लोग। ठीक है, सबको मिला के एक फी बन जाएगा। क्लियर? सेम इसमें ये जो पॉइंट है आपका जेंडर इंक्लूसिव, यहां नहीं है पर मैं बता देता हूं। इकोनॉमिक सर्वे टॉक्ड अबाउट दिस। ठीक है, इफ आई आस्क यू क्वेश्चन, विद द राइज इन एजुकेशन ऑफ वुमेन, शायद काफी लोगों से पूछा भी है मैंने, विद द राइज ऑफ एजुकेशन इन वुमेन, व्हाट डू यू थिंक? Their employability increase, their participation in jobs increase or decrease? Decrease? कोई इंक्रीज वाला है? कोई तो आगे अच्छा आर्गुमेंट दो। सब डिक्रीज वाले ही है. You appear very confused. क्या हुआ? With the rise in education, women employability, women participation in labor force often decreases. Because if you see the women participating in 2004 and today, it's 10 times lower. Why? Because the more you educated, the more your preference for a job increase. The more you are educated, the longer you stay out of workforce. अब आप मास्टर्स कर रहे हैं, पीएचडी कर रहे हैं, तो व्हाट हैपेंस, यू स्टे आउट ऑफ वर्कफोर्स फॉर अ लॉन्गर टाइम, एंड देन अगर आपने पीएचडी कर लिया, देन यू आर लाइक मैं ये जॉब नहीं करूंगी, देन यू हैव अ प्रेफरेंस फॉर अ जॉब. So it's common when education for the woman increase, the chances of employability, the chances of participation in labor force decrease. Second thing, with the rise in family income, do you think woman employability increase or decrease? Again decrease. Because when you have a family that can afford all basic necessity, the chances that they will have their woman working outside are very low. If you see this, Indian Express published a report, I think 1 year back or something. They analyzed all matrimonial sites. In that, they analyzed what was the profile of the woman and how many women get how many offers. They found that the women who wrote in their about section that I want to work after marriage are the least taker. The proposal that came to that woman in the social media कह रहा हूँ, matrimonial sites, they were the least takers. Why? Because same reason. That's why in rural area a woman has a more honor than in urban areas. In low class families, low income families, a woman is respected more than a high class families. The reason is in a low class family and in rural areas they have to work outside. Majority of the agricultural labor, around 56%, is women. So that biasness that you may have, that this person cannot work at par with me, goes away. So rural area में क्या होता है? Even a woman has to work outside in the farm. Otherwise, how would you earn the family income? You can see same in the, if you have seen footpath and all in Delhi, तो आप नोटिस करना वहीं पे वो औरत भी काम कर रही होती है, उसका हस्बैंड भी काम कर रहा होता है, बच्चा वहीं खेल रहा होता है. So what happened when the woman and the man work on the same footpath that जो भी बना रहे हैं, and both are working equally, so that biasness that you may have in mind that they are inferior to me, it never comes. इसीलिए in rural areas women are more honorably respected than in urban areas. In lower class family, the family who do not have much income, they respect मतलब वैसे नहीं कह रहा, प्यार वाली respect नहीं, honor वाली respect, a respect you earn. Love is something you get. वो तो पेरेंट्स तो करते हैं, अपने बच्चे कितने भी निकम्मे हो, समझ रहे ना, वो बच्चे माँ बाप कहते हैं ना भोला रह गया, जब वो कुछ गाली देना चाहते दे नहीं पाते तो क्या कहते हैं, हमारा बच्चा भोला रह गया है, कहना तो कुछ और ही चाहते हैं. ठीक है, तो every parents love their kids, that's different. I am talking a respect that you earn because of your efforts. That respect is more in rural area than urban area, more in low income families than in high income families. And it is very common, the more the family income, the lesser are the chances that they will have their woman working outside. तो ये चीजें हमें थोड़ी सी ब्रेक करनी पड़ेंगी if we really want what gender inclusion. ठीक है, तो अब इसका तो कोई सॉल्यूशन है नहीं. These are social biases, nobody can do much about it except family. इसलिए feminists क्या कहते हैं, without destroying family as the unit of society you cannot liberate a woman. ये तो थोड़ा ज्यादा हो गया, but nonetheless the feminists say without destroying family as the unit of society you cannot liberate woman. Because who teaches you if this is your role, this is his role? Family first. When the family says कोई नया आता है घर में, family says you go make the tea and you go fetch something from outside. Power relation establishes. Parents जानबूझ के नहीं करते, but they establish power relation the second they say to you bring water to the guest and your brother go fetch something from outside. उल्टा भी कर सकते थे कि भाई तू चाय लेके आ, तू बाहर से लेके आ, but it never happens. So what happens over time, these things crystallizes in your mind. They are like हाँ हमारा यही रोल है, पानी लाने का, चाय लाने का, whatever is there. The family starts stereotyping and we all are the part of some family. You may be, देखिए, I'm not saying your family is like this, you may be fortunate, you may have good parents who understand things, but majority of the families are not like this, and not only in India, around the world. सिर्फ इंडिया की बात मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ. क्लियर है? तो जेंडर इंक्लूजन में these are the problems. Clear to everyone? एंड इसके लिए इकोनॉमिक सर्वे सजेस्टेड अ वेरी गुड सोल्यूशन दैट गवर्नमेंट फोकस ऑन सप्लाई ऑफ जॉब. ये भी देखिए सप्लाई का फोकस है. What they are saying, have more manager and supervisor job जैसे अपने आप बढ़ जाएंगी. No. Economic survey said focus on demand of job. You government always focus on supply of job. आप कोई भी गवर्नमेंट एडवर्टीजमेंट देख लेना आज के समय में, हर जगह ये लिखा होता है द गवर्नमेंट इनकरेज वुमेन टू अप्लाई. यूपीएससी छोड़ दे, यूपीएससी नोटिफिकेशन में नहीं लिखा होता, ठीक है, वो तो कहते हैं हर बार टॉप मार रहे हो मत करना अप्लाई, ठीक है. Apart from UPSC and state PSC, in every government job advertisement now, a line is always written: government encourages women to apply. But encourages women to apply का does not mean they will apply. There are a lot of social barriers. ठीक है? So economic survey suggested that women wants job, but a very particular kind of job, a job that is paying but comes with flexibilities. Because primarily in rural areas, they have to take care of the elderly, the kids, the housework. So they want a job, but with flexibilities like maternity leave, period leave, some child leave or whatever is there. बात समझ में आया? So economic survey ने suggest किया है 2 sector, textile and leather. Textile and leather are highly labor intensive. First, second, they can be established in rural areas. So in rural areas, there can be a factory near to your home. तो majority of the women do not travel outside home. इसलिए आप एक चीज कॉमन नोटिस करना, यहाँ पे यूपीएससी में बता रहा हूं मैं, majority of the time in classes, I always see men in offline and women in online. Majority of the student in online is women, and majority of the student offlines are men. Why is it so? Same biases. The family do not prefer their woman to go outside. They are like दिल्ली जाएगी, 10 चीजें दिमाग में आती हैं. बात समझ में आ रही है? So these all are cultural biases. और ये कहने की बात है सिर्फ gender inclusion. It cannot happen without destroying the cultural biases. अब पता नहीं आप लोग कर पाएंगे या नहीं, देखेंगे. ठीक है, चलिए. Clear to everyone? So this we have. Next, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, something called NCPCR. It's a very important body. Let's see what it does. Recently, NCPR has sent a letter to Manipur DGP instructing them to acknowledge and lodge FIR against individual, because आपको पता है मणिपुर में क्या हॉरर चल रहा है इसमें. और इसमें हमारे पास we have a very beautiful commission by the name of National Commission on Women, that incompetent organization. It was recently, मेरे को नहीं पता थी ये बात, जब when I told you that news previous Saturday or previous to previous Saturday, they had this FIR, this report on women violence 2 months back. नेशनल कमीशन फॉर वुमेन को पहले से पता था कि वहां पे वुमेन के साथ क्या हो रहा है, एंड दे डिड नॉट टेक द एक्शन. अब ये मुझे कैसे पता होगा? प्रॉब्लम ये है, देखिए फिर मैं बोल रहा हूं, कल्चरल बायसेस इंपैक्ट एवरीवन इंक्लूडिंग वुमेन देमसेल्फ. नेशनल कमीशन फॉर वुमेन में द वुमेन प्रेजेंट देयर, दे आर पार्ट ऑफ सोसाइटी, दे हैव द सेम स्टीरियोटाइप्स दैट एवरीवन हैज. There was a particular case, Mangalore pub case. In that, some women were basically in the pubs and they were basically harassed. So the chairperson of the National Commission for Women said, it is the girl's fault. Gayi kyun thi pub mein? And this is the National Commission for Women. There have been numerous cases where National Commission of Women, the chairperson, they have such absurd remarks. And इस case में भी आप notice कीजिए, for 2 months they knew this, but they did not do anything. Same come to the first thing that I said you. First thing that I told you. What was the thing? Institutions are not good or bad. The people running them are good or bad. If you have good, honorable, integrated people in position of power, they will make sure everyone is protected. But if you will appoint the people you like, who say things at convenience, फिर ऐसे कांड होते रहेंगे. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? It has nothing to do with gender. उस वक्त भी मैंने मणिपुर में आपको बताया था, the people who committed this crime, they were supported by the Methi women, particularly Meera Paibis. Meera Paibis created a blockade, and some of them even stripped clothes ताकि आर्मी ना आ सके. Because आर्मी के साथ प्रॉब्लम क्या है? They have all male. अब आर्मी के साथ ये प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है. For the first time in the history of India, army tweeted a video and wrote there, these people are not allowing us to work. सोचे इतनी हेल्पलेस हो गई हमारी आर्मी कि उसे ट्वीट करके बोलना पड़ा, वीडियो प्रूफ के साथ कि these people are stopping us. So what they do, the Meera Paibis create a border and some of them start stripping the clothes ताकि आर्मी वाले भाग जाएं. And then what happens, अब वो उसे क्रॉस कर नहीं पाते, कुछ उसके लिए फोर्स इस्तेमाल करनी पड़ेगी और आर्मी में वुमन है ही नहीं, फोर्स कहां से लाओगे? And then the male do the crimes at the back. So they are supported by them. सबको समझ में आ रहा है? तो नेशनल वुमेन कमीशन, these all are the same problem. When you have institution where you appoint political appointments, that's why we need what? Independent Institutions Act. It must be enacted as soon as possible. Clear to everyone? Same problem came with NCPCR. क्या नाम है इसका? NCPCR. So this organization has woken up from the slumber because इन्हें लगा है कि नेशनल कमीशन फॉर वुमेन की बहुत बेइज्जती हो गई है, कहीं हमारी भी ना हो जाए. So they have sent a letter to the Manipur DGP saying them file FIR immediately on any crime involving a kid. And believe me, अभी तो इंटरनेट वहां पे बहुत restricted है. जब इंटरनेट खुल जाएगा तो जो वीडियो देख के आप लोग परेशान हुए थे वो स्टार्टिंग है. When अभी तो इंटरनेट बैन है वहां पे, so we are unable to see the videos. अभी तो हॉरर आना बाकी है, because when the internet will come, then the videos and the real things that is happening in Manipur right now as we speak will come forward. बात समझ में आ रही है? तो I think it's a good initiative, पर इस पर कुछ एक्शन हो जाए तो और भी बढ़िया है. Anyway, clear? Let's understand about NCPC, National Commission for Protection of Child Right. It was established by a law in 2005. The commission works under Ministry of Women and Child Development, headed by our lovely Smriti Irani. ठीक है, vocal Smriti Irani. उसे ड्रामा की आदत पड़ गई है. If you have seen that video, she recently came to Parliament. तो पार्लियामेंट में उसने पूरा उसका नाटक आता था, अगर आपको पता है, स्टार प्लस पे, सांस भी कभी बहू थी. ठीक है, तो लिटरली उसने वही ड्रामा वहां पे कर दिया. क्वेश्चन वाज आज समथिंग, चीखना शुरू कर दिया, ड्रामा शुरू कर दिया. वो एक्टर कभी कभार निकल आता है बाहर. ठीक है. सो नेशनल कमीशन फॉर वुमेन, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वुमेन एंड चाइल्ड डेवलपमेंट, it comes under primary objective of the commission is to ensure that all laws, policies, programs and administrative system align with the Constitution of India. and ये कन्वेंशन सब लोग याद रखेंगे, यूनाइटेड नेशन कन्वेंशन on the rights of the child. UN has two very important convention. Convention मैंने आपको पहले भी समझाया था, it's an agreement that is agreed by all the countries. So one convention is United Nations Convention on the Rights of Child. Similarly, you have UNCPCR, something, United Nations Convention on Eliminating Discrimination Against Women. There are two important conventions of UN. One is United Nations Convention on the Rights of Child and the United Nations Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. दोनों बहुत important convention है. Please remember them. According to the definition of child, इंडिया में child कैसे treat होता है? The child is treated from the age of 0 to 18. But India में different law treat child differently. Remember we did something called periodic labor force survey report. प्रीवियस सैटरडे किया था, प्रीवियस टू प्रीवियस मुझे याद नहीं है, यहाँ भी किया था यार, मुझे याद आ रहा है. चलो ठीक है, 15. चलिए इसमें देख लीजिए. तो इंडियन सेंसस क्या काउंट करता है? 14. सेंसस इज कंडक्टेड एवरी 10 years टू नो द चेंजिंग सोशियो इकोनॉमिक प्रोफाइल ऑफ इंडियंस. तो सेंसस ट्रीट एनीवन लेस देन द एज ऑफ 14 एज अ चाइल्ड. Universal Declaration of Child Rights treated anyone less than 18 as a child. Indian Penal Code has different definition in different provisions. जैसे हमारा majority of the law treats below 18 you are a child. And POCSO लगता है, मैंने शायद previous कभी करा था हमने POCSO. क्या चीज? हाँ, वो इसलिए क्योंकि इसमें देखिए इंडिया में थोड़ा सा इशू ये भी है कि इंडियन पीनल कोड्स वर मेड बाय ब्रिटिशर्स और एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम मोरालिटी वाज वेरी 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 डिफरेंट. तो इंडियन पीनल कोड में इट इज रिटन दैट आई थिंक 15 or 16 इज द एज if you are married to a woman above the 16 or something, then rape is not considered. उसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे आई थिंक सेक्शन 375 है वो, विच 75 76 समथिंग है, तो उसमें यही प्रोविजन था, पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अल्टीमेटली बोला इट इज इनकंसिस्टेंट विद पॉक्सो, तो उसमें 18 फिर हो गया है. बट मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द प्रोविजन इन इंडिया वर रिटन ड्यूरिंग द टाइम ऑफ ब्रिटिशर्स, एंड दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम मोरालिटी वाज वेरी 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 डिफरेंट. ठीक है, मैरिज एट द एज ऑफ 12 और 13 वाज वेरी कॉमन, इसीलिए तो हम सती लाए थे. सती का आई थिंक आपको आइडिया होगा. सती वाज अ पेट्रियार्कल आइडिया बिकॉज दे थॉट इफ आई विल डाई देन माय वुमन इज, जैसे बोलते हैं ना, खुली तिजोरी, ठीक है, कोई भी लूट लेगा. सो उन्होंने बोला लेट्स हैव अ इनोवेटिव आइडिया, व्हाई शुडंट आई बर्न हर अलाइव ऑन माय फायर, मैं मरा तो उसे भी टपका दूंगा. एंड व्हाट हैपेंस इज मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द टाइम वुमन यूज्ड टू, वैसे भी औरतें ज्यादा जीती हैं, आपको पता ही होगा. ठीक है, ठीक है, दे लिव मोर. ठीक है, एंड सुसाइड रेट आपको बताया होगा अमंग मैरिड मैन इज वेरी हाई. ठीक है, वो जल्दी टपक लेते हैं. इट्स फैक्ट, अमंग मैरिड मैन सुसाइड रेट इज हाई. ठीक है, दे आर लाइक मरना ज्यादा आसान है सब झेलने के बजाय, तो लेट मी डाई फर्स्ट. ठीक है, चलो दैट्स जोक्स अपार्ट. बट द थिंग इज एनीवे वुमन लिव लॉन्गर. ठीक है, नेचुरली दे आर, इफ यू नो, दे हैव बेटर सिस्टम, they live longer. The chances that a child born as a woman survive is higher than a child born as a male. But उसके बाद भी फीमेल feticide की वजह से the female ratio and male ratio is different. जबकि chances, nature has made them differently strong. बात समझ में आई? Keeping that in mind, the different age treat them, different laws in India treat women or any child at different ages. So census treat anyone below 14. Various laws of IPC treat them differently. Minor is under the age of 7. Children with mental disabilities under the age of 12. So you are below 7, then you are minor. But IPC में बहुत से provisions. Different provisions treat people differently. अब पॉक्सो में एक बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम ये भी है कि पॉक्सो में कंसेंशुअल इंटरकोर्स की बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है. मान लेते हैं चिल्ड्रन, मेल और फीमेल डजंट मैटर, इफ दे आर, मान लेते हैं दे आर 12 years of age and you are above 18, then it is assumed that you raped her or him, जो भी केस बनता हो. It's gender neutral, keep this in mind, it is a gender neutral law. अब इसमें प्रॉब्लम आता है कंसेंट का. There are lot of judgment of the high court in which a minor was involved, but because it was consensual, they said it is not a rape. POCSO does not apply. So we do not have a clear definition right now on POCSO. Because consensual sexual intercourse is a problem here. सबको समझ में आ रहा है? So different laws have different parameters. Keep that in mind. So different IPC section has different parameter. Under 83 it is 7. Under 376 और जो भी था it is 16. Under Article 21A it is 6 to 14. Because right to education guarantees till 8th or 10th जो भी क्लास होती है. ठीक है, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act treats children below 14. Juvenile Justice Act treats children below, but it says that above 16 years a person can be treated like an adult in case of heinous crimes. हाँ, निर्भया केस के बाद this law was made and it says that a person above 16 can be, not always, but can be treated like an adult, which I believe is, मैं पहले मैं अपना नहीं बताऊंगा, पहले आप लोग बताओ, इससे पहले आप मुझे जज करने बैठ जाओ. What do you think, it's good or bad? Good, but nobody believes it's good, including the Justice Verma committee. After Nirbhaya case, the Verma committee was appointed to recommend amendment. It clearly said do not reduce the age. It was reduced under political pressure. Government को लगा था इलेक्शन आने वाले हैं, ड्रामा चल रहा है, let me reduce the age. There is no scientific basis of reducing age to 16. Why? Because understand this, if you are sent to a jail, there is 100% guarantee you will never come back. Jail is a Facebook of criminals. You are outside of a jail, there are chances you can be reformed. That's why it is said in the law, you should prefer not to send anyone to jail. Because अब jail में जाते हैं वहाँ पे सारे criminals हैं. So it's a Facebook site, so where you make friends, and nobody comes out of jail as a good man. If you go inside as a good man, you will surely come out as a criminal. You're getting the point? Law never aims to punish. It always aims to reform. लॉ का कभी भी काम पनिश करने का नहीं होता है. And Justice Verma committee clearly said, do not reduce this age to 16. Government only reduce it under political pressure because protests were happening और जनता तो कुछ भी डिमांड करती है. Keep this in mind. I also think it was not suitable. Problem ये है कि the problem here is that we often confuse revenge with justice. देखिए, of course, जिसकी फैमिली के साथ हुआ उसके तो तकलीफ होगी. If it happens to your family, of course, you will be blood hungry. But revenge is something, justice is something else. हम चाहते हैं वो मरी तो तुम भी मरे हुए. There were a lot of people who were demanding hang them in the street, publicly execute कर दो. As if we are barbarians. As if we are barbarian. हाँ भाई, पत्थर उठाते हैं, मारना शुरू कर देते हैं, तालिबान बन जाते हैं सारे के सारे. ठीक है, तो मैं समझ रहा हूँ. देखिए, आई अंडरस्टैंड दिस इमोशनल थिंग एंड स्पेशली फॉर द फैमिली ऑन whom it goes. उनके लिए तो बहुत ही बड़ी चीज है. But nonetheless, Justice Verma committee clearly said this, that this will be a stupid step. Reform them. And literally, remember I told you a Supreme Court judgment. अगर आपको ये बुरा लग रहा है, then tell me this. Supreme Court annulled the death penalty of a person who raped and murdered a 4-year-old girl. क्या लगता है आपको? बढ़िया किया. सुप्रीम कोर्ट को उस जज का यही मानना था. He said every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. I know it's abhorrible. There was a big dispute going on there, but उसके लिए even that person, सोचो 4 साल की लड़की का रेप एंड मर्डर हुआ था, उस केस में भी the Supreme Court said कि I believe there are chances this person can reform. Even then, the Supreme Court said no death penalty. Of course, जिस फैमिली के साथ हुआ था उनके लिए तो बड़ी बात थी. उनको तो डेथ पेनल्टी से नीचे कुछ मांगता ही नहीं है. बात समझ में आ रही? तो ये थोड़ा ट्रबलिंग पॉइंट है. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ इमोशंस इन्वॉल्वड हियर, बट रैशनैलिटी डिक्टेट्स 18 years was the good parameters. And second, jail are not friendly places. If you send somebody to jail, there is 100% guarantee that person, even if it is not criminal, he or she will become criminal for sure. It's a Facebook site basically. Clear है सबको? So these are different debates that we can have. Composition समझ लेते जल्दी से. The central government appoints the chairperson who should be a distinguished individual with a notable track record in promoting child welfare. 6 members are appointed from various fields, including at least 2 women based on their eminence, ability, integrity, standing and experience. Education, child health care, welfare and development activities, juvenile justice or care, neglect, whatever. Elimination of child labor, ये सारे ड्रामे उन्होंने करे होंगे. ठीक है. फंक्शन मैंने आपको समझा ही दिया. इट एग्जामिन, इट रिव्यूज, इट रिकमेंड. इट एग्जामिन्स, इट रिव्यू, इट रिकमेंड. इस पे रिमेंबर वन पॉइंट, every agency of government of India is just a recommendatory body, including National Human Rights Commission. भारत में जितनी भी एजेंसीज है वो क्या है? At most they can recommend action. They themselves cannot take any action whatsoever. Clear? Remember that. For आप recommend कर सकते हैं, at most action किसी में नहीं ले सकते, because government इन्हें power देती ही नहीं है. Government keeps all the power with them. तो इसीलिए that's why है ना, we need Independent Institutions Act. It's the need of the time, but पता नहीं कब आएगा. No government body including National Human Rights Commission. फायदा ये है कि this commission may not have the power to punish, but this commission has the power to file a case in Supreme Court for punishment. अगर चेयरपर्सन इसका थोड़ा भी इंटेग्रिटी वाला होगा, थोड़ी भी इज्जत बची होगी इस व्यक्ति के पास, तो that person, what that person can do, if he can recommend to or she can recommend to government to take action. If government does not take action, he can go to Supreme Court and file a petition कि do this. ये कर सकते हैं, but PIL कर सकते हैं, बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं. तो केस फाइल कर दीजिए, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? यू कैन हैव वेरियस मेजर्स, बट फिर वही एंड पॉइंट देखिए वहीं आ जाता है. हम हर जगह एक ही जगह पे जाके फंस जाते हैं. करेगा कौन? देयर आर प्रॉब्लम्स, देयर आर सॉल्यूशंस, बट द क्वेश्चन दैट ऑलवेज रिमेन्स इज हु विल डू देम. ठीक है, देखते हैं आप में से कोई कर दे तो. नेक्स्ट, Responsibility, which laws responsibility they have? The Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, known as POCSO. It has a special courts designated by the state government. It has public prosecutor appointed by the state government. The guidelines formulation for NGO, professional, expert वगैरह. It has provision for training module. It has provision for information and awareness. It has provision for. ये सारा काम कौन करता है? State government along with NCPCR if child is involved. ठीक है? And this law is very good. This law even says that there should be child friendly court. कोर्ट में आप बच्चे को बुला नहीं सकते, पुलिस बच्चे को अरेस्ट नहीं कर सकती है. If there is a kid, the police cannot arrest them. If they put them in detention, then every police station must have a juvenile or a child protection unit, dedicated officers for child. पुलिस उन्हें पकड़, उन्हें अरेस्ट नहीं कर सकती, उन्हें जेल में नहीं डाल सकती है. अगर वो डिटेन करती भी है किसी रीजन से, तो उसको वो थाने नहीं ले जा सकते, उनको उसे किसे देना पड़ेगा? चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन यूनिट को देना पड़ेगा. एंड दैट चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन यूनिट, सॉरी, अच्छा तुम पकड़े गए? किस चीज के लिए पकड़े गए थे? क्या छेड़ दिया? पुलिस वाली छेड़ दिया. नाइस, सिग्मा रूल्स. ठीक है, अलाउड नहीं है. अगर आप में से कोई लॉ का जानकार होता तो वो डर जाते. तभी, हाँ तभी. देखिए, अंडरस्टैंड दिस, फोकट ने कहा नॉलेज इज पावर. नॉलेज इज ऑलवेज पावर. और पुलिस वाला हो चाहे जज हो चाहे कोई भी हो, वो सामने वाले को देख के अटैक करता है. अगर उन्हें पता लग जाएगा दैट यू पीपल अंडरस्टैंड समथिंग, यू पीपल अंडरस्टैंड लॉ एंड समथिंग, तो उसकी हिम्मत नहीं होती. ठीक है. और ऊपर से तुमने लौंडिया भी छेड़ी थी, तो वो एक अलग बात थी. ठीक है, उसमें ऑफ कोर्स दे कैन अरेस्ट यू, वो एक अलग बात है, बट ऐसे अचानक से उठा के नहीं ले सकते. अंडर एज थे तुम लोग. कौन बोल रहा, किधर से बोल रहा है ये तो बताओ. अच्छा, क्या? हाँ मार लेते हैं, लेकिन वो तब मार लेते हैं ना जब उन्हें पता है कि आप लोग कुछ कर नहीं पाएंगे. तो ऐसा कैसा एडवोकेट लेके गए थे तुम कि तुम्हें पिटवा रहा है वो मुझे पे? तो उसे भी पेल दिया. वाह, ये जबर था भाई साहब, एडवोकेट भी पेल दिया. देखिए, लेट मी डिस्टिंग्विश दिस विद अ फैक्ट, समथिंग दैट हैपेंड विद मी. मैं आपको बताता हूँ. व्हेन आई वाज प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर सिविल सर्विसेज, ठीक है, तो दिल्ली मेरठ एक्सप्रेसवे वाज बीइंग मेड. I have my home on Delhi Meerut Expressway, ठीक है, in East Delhi. So this road was being made. It was 14th of August. ठीक है, 15 अगस्त को आपको पता है तो ड्रामा होता है. So I and few of my friends, we were just walking on that expressway. A policeman come, SHO level rank. ठीक है, he was drunk, utterly drunk. He came and he that baton he had na, he just hit it. So I was on the back, he hit me. Then the person hit me. दो लोगों को उसने मार दिया. अब आई गॉट वेरी एंग्री. इस एक तो यूपीएससी की फ्रस्ट्रेशन, ठीक है, ऊपर से ये बकवास कर रहा था. तो आई बेसिकली पुल्ड आउट हिज गन. जो उसके होल्स्टर में गन थी, मैंने वही निकाल ली. मैंने कहा टेक दिस एंड इफ यू हैव द गट्स शूट इट. ठीक है, तो रिमेंबर दिस, इफ द पर्सन नो यू आर मैड, गन निकालना इज अ बिग ऑफेंस. आप एक पुलिस पर्सन की ऑन ड्यूटी गन निकाल रहे हैं, बिगेस्ट ऑफेंस, क्रिमिनल ऑफेंस बेसिकली. बट मुझे पता था वो पिया हुआ है, पहली चीज. एंड देन मैंने उससे लड़ लिया गंदा वाला. इमेजिन, ही वाज एसएचओ रैंक ऑफिसर, उसकी हिम्मत नहीं हुई मुझे उसके बाद टच करने की. एंड ही वाज, आपने वो देखी है हेरा फेरी, उसमें कहता है पकड़ मुझे पकड़. ही वाज लाइक विद दैट विद माय फ्रेंड. वन ऑफ माय फ्रेंड वाज नेगोशिएटिंग इन बिटवीन. आई वाज वेरी एंग्री. आई वाज शाउटिंग एट हिम डीपली. मैं कहा तेरी हिम्मत कैसे हुई हाथ लगाने की? ही वाज लाइक आप रात को घूमोगे? मैंने कहा हाँ मैं घूमूंगा. गांधी जी से आजादी के लिए लड़े थे. एंड ही वाज लाइक कि सेक्शन 144 लगा है. मैंने कहा सेक्शन 144 5 लोगों पे लगता है, हम 4 हैं. ठीक है, सेक्शन 144 5 लोगों पे लगता है, हम 4 हैं, पहली चीज. और दूसरी चीज, नोटिफिकेशन कहाँ है? दिखाओ नोटिफिकेशन है तो. ही वाज लाइक ज्यादा बहस मत कर, मैं तेरे को जेल ले जाऊंगा. मैंने कहा चलो जल्दी चलो, अभी चलो. देखिए, व्हाई आई कुड डू दिस, नॉलेज. ठीक है, आई अंडरस्टूड द लॉ एंड आई न्यू ही कुड नॉट डू एनीथिंग, पहली चीज। दूसरी चीज, आई न्यू इफ ही विल अरेस्ट मी ही विल टेक मी टू प्रिजन। मेन उसका इशू क्या होता, ही हैज टू प्रोड्यूस मी बिफोर अ मैजिस्ट्रेट विद इन 24 आवर्स। सेक्शन आपका आर्टिकल 22 आई बिलीव, इट सेज यू मस्ट बी प्रोड्यूस टू अ मैजिस्ट्रेट विद इन 24 आवर्स। अब उसमें एक केस है, वो क्या बोलता उससे, कल तक ये यूपीएससी पढ़ रहा था, आज इसने चोरी शुरू कर दी। You understand thing? When you have no criminal record ना, nobody can touch you, including any police officer. पहली चीज। और दूसरी चीज, उसे एक बात समझ में आ गई, पागल व्यक्ति है। आप खुद सोचिए, when you are very powerful and everything, अगर कोई मैड व्यक्ति आ रहा है तो आप साइड हो जाते हैं, बिकॉज मैड में क्या होता है, अनप्रिडिक्टेबिलिटी होती है। इफ दैट पर्सन कैन गॉज कि यू फियर योरसेल्फ, तो वो पेल देगा आपको। एंड अगर उसे पता लग गया कि ये व्यक्ति किसी भी हद तक गुजर जाएगा जस्ट टू शो मी डाउन, तो वही मैंने चीख के ही बोला था, मैंने कहा कि अगर तू मुझे जेल ले गया बेटा, तेरा कमिश्नर मुझे घर छोड़ने आएगा और तेरे को टर्मिनेट करके। हाउ दिस कुड हैपन, अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंस, नॉलेज इज इंडीड पावर। ठीक है, वो बात अलग है कि इसमें मेरी गलती भी नहीं थी, तुम्हारी तो गलती भी थी। ठीक है, अब तुम लौंडिया छेड़ रहे हो यार।
And all the officers were under his control at that time, and they just took we and our advocates along.
पेल दिया है। कुछ किया होगा ना यार, ऐसे कैसे पेल दिया?
सर एक्चुअली कैंपस के अंदर लड़ाई हो गई थी।
अच्छा, फिर तो फिर तुम लोगों ने कुछ नहीं करा?
हम लोगों ने केस किया था, तो उसको ऑफिसर कर दिया। चला कुछ टाइम
केस क्यों किया? तुमने बोला नहीं बेटा बाहर मिली हो? अच्छा, ठीक है। अब देखिए, सिचुएशन वेरी फ्रॉम पर्सन टू पर्सन, ठीक है, बट आई कैन अश्योर यू इफ यू हैव सफिशिएंट नॉलेज देन नोबडी। देखिए, इसलिए पुलिस वाले कभी भी लॉयर्स से मैच नहीं करते, वो किसी से भी लड़ते हैं लॉयर्स के अलावा। अब सिविल सर्विसेज में नहीं थे भाई, ठीक है। हाँ, तो उससे क्या है, मैंने थोड़ा बोला मेरा बाप कौन है उसे, ये बात थोड़ा पता थी उसे। देखिए, मेरे साथ तो एक्सपीरियंस 2 बार हुआ है, और दोनों बार में उसने माफी मांगी है। मैंने उसे माफी मांगने के बाद ही जाने दिया था। ठीक है, मैं तो पीछे पड़ गया था, मैंने कहा तू मुझे लेके चल थाने, आज मजा आएगा। समझिए ना, फ्रस्ट्रेट तो मैं वैसी था ही। ठीक है, यूपीएससी के चक्कर में यार, अटेम्प्ट पे अटेम्प्ट दे रहे, कुछ हो नहीं रहा जिंदगी में। ठीक है, किन से डील करना, वो हो सकता है मे बी अ रीजन, बट उसे पता नहीं था, क्योंकि ना ही मैंने उसे बताया। जो क्या है, तो मैंने बोला ना मैड बन जाओ, वो कहाँ डर गया होगा, ज्यादा मुझे समझ में आया जब मैंने गन निकाल ली थी उसकी होल्स्टर से। मैंने गन निकाल ली थी, मैंने कहा हिम्मत है तो इसे चला बेटा, हो जाए आर पार की लड़ाई। वैसे मुझे जिंदगी में कहाँ से इंटरेस्ट है नहीं। ठीक है। अच्छा चलो, मजाक छोड़ो यार, हमारा काम नहीं हो पाएगा, चलो आगे करते हैं। ठीक है, तो अनदर लॉ दैट दे एनफोर्स इज एनसीपीसीआर। पहला लॉ कौन सा एनफोर्स करता है, आपका पॉक्सो। सेकंड लॉ इज राइट ऑफ चिल्ड्रन टू फ्री एंड कंपल्सरी एजुकेशन एक्ट, ऑल्सो नोन एज राइट टू एजुकेशन। ये आपको पता ही है, 6 से 14 साल तक के बच्चों के लिए कंपल्सरी एजुकेशन। बहुत प्यारा लॉ है, बहुत ही प्यारा। दिस लॉ सेज दैट एनी चिल्ड्रन इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ देयर नेशनैलिटी, कहने का मतलब इवन इफ यू आर अ फॉरेनर यू कैन नॉट बी डिनाइड एडमिशन टू अ गवर्नमेंट स्कूल। क्यों? बिकॉज क्या होता है, मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पीपल, खासकर हमारी जो लेबर क्लास होती है, दे डू नॉट हैव डॉक्यूमेंट्स। तो क्या होता था, वेन एवर दे यूज्ड टू टेक देयर किड टू द स्कूल ना, तो स्कूल प्रिंसिपल क्या कहता था, डॉक्यूमेंट लाओ, ये लाओ वो लाओ वो लाओ। एंड इस चक्कर में बच्चे की एजुकेशन खराब हो जाती थी। तो गवर्नमेंट ने बोला नो डॉक्यूमेंट नीडेड, नो वन कैन से, एनी प्रिंसिपल इन लॉ, रियल लाइफ इज डिफरेंट, दे कैन नॉट से नो टू एनी एडमिशन irrespective, even if you have no document to prove you are Indian. They cannot say no. Why is it so? यार किसी को थोड़ा एजुकेशन देने में हमारा कुछ जाने वाला नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट इज एनीवे गिविंग एजुकेशन टू एवरीवन। अगर मान लेता हूं मैं सम इलीगल इमिग्रेंट्स आर देयर, बांग्लादेशी, पाकिस्तानी, व्हाटएवर दे आर, थोड़ा बहुत उन्हें एजुकेशन मिल जाएगा तो हम कौन सा घिस जाएंगे। बट इन दिस प्रोसेस वी कैन मेक श्योर एटलीस्ट एवरी इंडियन हैज एजुकेशन। क्लियर? इट्स अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग लॉ, सेटफुली ठीक से अप्लाई नहीं होता। क्लियर है? तो दीज आर द टू लॉज दैट एनसीपीसीआर इन्फोर्सेस। क्लियर? गवर्नमेंट में है इस लॉ के तहत, प्राइवेट में है 15% सीट पे। हर प्राइवेट स्कूल में, एवरी प्राइवेट स्कूल 15% ऑफ सीट मस्ट बी विद द ईडब्ल्यूएस फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट. दिल्ली में इस वक्त अच्छा मैकेनिज्म है. एवरी स्टेट हैज डिफरेंट मैकेनिज्म ऑफ एनफोर्समेंट. दिल्ली में इट इज ऑनलाइन. इफ यू हैव इनकम बिलो सर्टेन लेवल, यू मेक योर क्या बोलते हैं इनकम सर्टिफिकेट, एसडीएम ऑफिस को चाहिए, इनकम सर्टिफिकेट बनाइए, देन यू कैन अप्लाई ऑनलाइन फॉर योर किड, and that kid get all the education including dress, your any kind of book, anything that you need, government provide you for free in private schools. I'm talking about costly private school. You study for free completely for 15% of all the seats. दिल्ली में अच्छा मैकेनिज्म है. केजरीवाल गवर्नमेंट ने वाकई में दो चीजों में बहुत अच्छा काम किया है. एजुकेशन, हेल्थ ठीक ठाक है. एजुकेशन में लिटरली दे हैव वर्कड वंडर्स. इन दिल्ली में इस वक्त मैकेनिज्म अच्छा है. आपकी स्टेट का मुझे आइडिया नहीं. ठीक है, अपनी स्टेट का देख लेना कैसे चलता है वहां. क्लियर है सबको? अगला नेक्स्ट न्यूज वी हैव इज ग्लोबल रिपोर्ट ऑन फूड क्राइसिस 2023. द 2023 ग्लोबल रिपोर्ट ऑन फूड क्राइसिस वाज पब्लिश्ड recently. The highlights: the GFSR show a concerning trend of increasing food insecurity. ठीक है, फूड इनसिक्योरिटी एंड an urgent assistance need. यहाँ पे एक चीज याद रखिएगा, शायद मैंने इसमें मेंशन करना रह गया है. थ्योरी, एक थ्योरी है जिसे हम बोलते हैं पी थ्योरी ऑफ, यू कैन राइट ऑन द मार्जिन, आई थिंक नोट्स में लिखना रह गया है ये. पी थ्योरी ऑफ अमर्त्य सेन. अमर्त्य सेन इज द नोबेल laureate, he is an economist. P, failure of exchange entitlement. What is P? Failure of failure. Failure of exchange entitlement theory. What does this theory says? This theory says first thing that a person dies out of hunger when he is failed to exchange his entitlement into food. Failure of exchange entitlement. When you fail to exchange your entitlement into food. For example, for a laborer, labor is the entitlement. For a laborer, labor is the entitlement. When you are unable to convert labor into food, then you die out of hunger. And we have to club this with FuseNet report. FuseNet report. FuseNet published a report in which it said that famines, basically people dying out of food, lack of food, are not natural disasters, they are political disasters. This world has sufficient food for everyone. The problem is few people consume too much, which leaves nothing to the other people. Basically, this report highlights that the food crisis is a political problem. हम कई बार सोचते हैं ना, इट्स अ नेचुरल प्रॉब्लम, इट्स इकोनॉमिक प्रॉब्लम कि भाई फूड कॉस्टली है, ये है, वो है. दैट्स डिफरेंट. But this report highlights there is sufficient food for everyone in this world. But the problem is the political mismanagement in which few people have everything and the remaining people have nothing is the reason of that due to hunger. Clear? So ये दोनों report, please remember both of these in the background. Now come to the report. This report is saying what? There is an increasing acute food insecurity and urgent assistance is needed. It report around 250 million people. It's a big number. लगभग 25 करोड़. Sorry? FuseNet, FEWSENET. FuseNet report. It was published. It's an organization that publishes report on hunger. FuseNet. तो इसमें नोट्स में नहीं है, अलग से बताया था मैंने. So the report highlights how many people are hungry. 250 million, around 25 crore people, because of economic shock in Ukraine. Economic shock in Ukraine are the reason that the people are hungry. It's a bad news, I believe. Around 258 people across 58 countries face acute food insecurity, up from 193 million people. Ukraine war, Corona, economic crises like 2008 in India, mein Modi ji's personal crisis, demonetization. These crises basically created what we know today as hunger. India में particularly, if you see child nutrition, अब वैसे कोई भी आप रिपोर्ट उठा लो, India is not doing very good. ठीक है, in all reports we are at the bottom. The reason is because the government is neoliberal. Neoliberal governments often do not support. And I told you, government of India provides food to 80 crore people. Previously मैंने आपको बताया था. It's an acknowledgement of shame कि आफ्टर 75 years of independence आज भी आपको 80 करोड़ पीपल को फूड देना पड़ रहा है. If you do not provide them food, they may die out of hunger. It's an acknowledgement of shame कि आपने 75 साल में कुछ नहीं करा जिंदगी में. Getting the point, sir? अगर देखिए, there will always be poor. That's a fact. अगर ये मान लेते 10 करोड़ होता, 20 करोड़ होता, समझ में आता है. We are 140 crore people. So 120 crore is okay, but 80 crores, that's what union government claims, and they put a hoarding. Thank you Modi ji for providing food to 80 crore people. जैसे कौन सी achievement है ये? Same अब जैसे बिहार के केस में आपको पता है, बिहार is saying give us special state, special category status. उससे additional revenue मिलता है. If you are special state, the central government provides additional revenue. But it is an acknowledgement कि आपने 75 साल में कुछ नहीं किया. भीख मांगने का नया स्टाइल है, स्पेशल कैटेगरी स्टेट. ठीक है, इट्स एन एक्नॉलेजमेंट. ये तो शेम आनी चाहिए कि आपको मांगना पड़ रहा है. 75 साल क्या कर रहे थे आप लोग? बात क्लियर है? तो रिमेंबर दिस, इंडिया इस समय अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, और आउट ऑफ ऑल दिस फिगर रिमेंबर ओनली वन, दिस, दैट टू इन रफ मेजर्स. रिमेंबर, अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस रिपोर्ट अराउंड 25 करोड़ पीपल आर हंग्री. दैट्स इट. ठीक है, रीजन मैंने आपको बता ही दिए, बिकॉज ऑफ इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस एंड Ukraine war, Corona, and whatnot. The global report indicates that hunger, while not rising alarmingly, right now it is not rising at very fast pace, but it is still higher than pre-COVID level, which will impact India's the world's SDG, Sustainable Development Goal. You need to know all Sustainable Development Goal by heart. इसके लिए what you can do, Google mnemonics. ओके, आई थिंक 17 है 19 ऐसी कुछ है, मुझे 17 है. 17 है और 169 टारगेट्स हैं उसके तहत. ठीक है, 169 तो आप याद नहीं कर पाओगे, करना भी नहीं है. बट रिमेंबर 17 गोल्स बाय हार्ट. व्हाट इज एसडीजी, व्हाट आर द 17 गोल, हाउ द रेवेन्यू विल कम, हाउ द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन विल वर्क, व्हाट इज द स्टेटस ऑफ इंडिया, दैट इज कंपल्सरी. व्हाट इंडिया इज डूइंग ऑन एसडीजी एंड व्हाट इज द करंट स्टेटस. वेरी 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 इंपॉर्टेंट. इट कैन हेल्प यू एनीवेयर. So SDG 2 is zero hunger. So there are chances that by 2030 we will not be able to reach this target. We means the entire world. New estimate shows that there is no improvement in global food insecurity for 2020 compared to the previous level. The prevalence of undernutrition, इतना डिटेल याद करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बस इतना याद कर लो, ये पॉइंट बहुत है. That the world is likely to miss SDG 2, that is zero hunger. जीरो हंगर तो वैसे भी कभी नहीं होने वाला. There will always be few people who are hungry. ठीक है, चलिए कोई बात नहीं. क्या पॉलिटिशियन क्या? हाँ सही बात है भाई, हंगर भी कई प्रकार की होती है. पावर हंगरी. Who published this report? Remember this for prelims. Remember this name for sure. मैंने आपको बताया, every report that you see in current affairs, please know what is the report, 2 to 3 key points, and then who published them. And if there is any indicator in the report, जैसे for example SDG में you have 17. Similarly, if there are parameters, do know them, not in detail but only idea. What are the parameters? So it is published by Food Security Information Network in support of Global Network Against Food Crisis. ट्यूजनेट इसमें नहीं है, मैंने अलग से बताया, तो अलग रिपोर्ट है. दैट्स अ डिफरेंट रिपोर्ट. सो अबाउट फूड सिक्योरिटी थोड़ा सा देख लेते हैं. Food and agriculture. Now remember the definition of food security. The definition of food security is made up of four components. Food security means when you have a food that is available, affordable, nutritious and stable. So what is food security? Food security आप ऐसे लिखेंगे, अगर if there is a question then intro में you define ना, you will write according to Food and Agriculture Organization, food security means a food that is available, affordable, nutritious and stable. ठीक है, बेसिकली क्या बना, नास, जिसका नास हो सके. NAAS शॉर्ट में, if you want to remember, NAAS. यही हुआ ना? हाँ यही हुआ. न्यूट्रिशन, अवेलेबिलिटी, अफोर्डेबिलिटी, स्टेबिलिटी. हाँ ठीक है, नासा कर दो, ठीक है, वट एवर यू लाइक. निमोनिक्स इज अप टू यू. नेक्स्ट, की ड्राइवर्स ऑफ फूड इनसिक्योरिटी. मैंने आपको बताया था, यूक्रेन वॉर, लेस फेवरेबल गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी, यू नो, न्यू लिबरल पॉलिसीज वी हैव, इंक्रीज अर्बनाइजेशन. Because of increased urbanization, you are basically cutting off the forest, cutting on the plantation and whatever not. Lockdowns and economic downturns. These are the common sense. Possible solutions are targeted policies and programs. Sound nutrition, ये मैंने आपको पहले भी समझाया था. The problem with the humanity is, remember, what is the biggest nutrition problem in children? किसी को याद नहीं. What was the biggest problem of nutrition in children? और कुछ, अब malnutrition तो आउटकम है. हाँ, ट्रॉपिकल एंट्रोपैथी, मैंने आपको पहले भी समझाया था. ट्रॉपिकल entropathy. What happens when you get ill often? When you get ill often, your stomach, your digestion system stops extracting nutrients. वो डर जाता है. होता है ना, वो हम कहते हैं ना हिंदी में, दूध का जला भी छाछ फूक फूक के पीता है. Same happen with your body. When you get ill too much ना, you eat something, you get ill, you eat something, you get ill. Your body starts to react. It gets fearful of absorbing the food. उसे डर लगने लगता है कहीं इसमें फिर से कोई पैथोजन ना हो. In that process, you are eating the food, but your body does not absorb the nutrients. That is also, this is the biggest reason of malnutrition in children. Apart from family income, demonetization, वो अलग है. But ये reason है, और इसके में you can praise Modi government for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. देखिए, this Abhiyan was working since antiquity, but the kind of energy Modi government put in this Abhiyan was marvelous. ठीक है, literally they get this credit. ठीक है, एंड सेम वुमन में क्या प्रॉब्लम था? व्हाट वाज द रीजन ऑफ malnutrition in women? IVI, iodine, vitamin and iron, and this happened because of skewed food habits. Skewed food habits, you like to eat this, not this. ठीक है, ये खाना है, ये नहीं खाना, उसमें से भी ये निकाल देना और ये नहीं खाना है. So these kind of habits, when you do not eat nutritious food, you have to eat a wholesome food which includes all kind of things, vegetables and जो भी चीजें होती है, vegetable, fruits, it should be wholesome. What happens, you eat food but you eat only junk or you eat partial. मैगी में से टमाटर निकाल दिए, वो निकाल दिया और मैगी खा गए. सेम थिंग हैपन, पिज्जा में से वो निकाला, पिज्जा खा गए. तो दैट इज स्टूपिडिटी. समझ में आ रहा है? न्यूट्रिशियस फूड, एंड देन यू कैन गेट IVI. So everyone remember, the woman में biggest problem is iodine, vitamin, iron, and children में the biggest problem is tropical enteropathy. ठीक है, एंड इसके लिए हमें कैसा चाहिए, इसीलिए यहाँ पे हमने क्या लिखा है? Sound nutrition. Eating food is not nutrition. If you have sufficient food, it does not mean you have sufficient nutrition for your body. Clear everyone? Next, हेल्थियर फूड आउटलेट. बिकॉज आपको पता ही है हम लोगों को जंक खाना कितना पसंद है, हर ठेले से कुछ ना कुछ खाना हमें. ठीक है, अगर उसमें क्या बोलते हैं, वो कौन सा खाते हैं, अगर गोलगप्पे हो तो मजे ही आ जाते हैं जिंदगी के. ठीक है, तो वो तो खाना ही खाना है हमें, बट दैट इज नॉट वेरी न्यूट्रिशियस. ठीक है, उसमें जो स्पेशल फ्लेवर मिलाता है वो हाथ से, ठीक है, वो फ्लेवर टेस्ट अच्छा करता होगा लेकिन हेल्थ के लिए अच्छा नहीं है. ठीक है, तो इसलिए कैसा प्रमोट करना है हमें? healthier food outlets. That's very compulsory. Okay, that we have to do. And try to eat fresh and minimally processed. आजकल आता है ना ready to eat food, गरम करो खा जाओ, वो बेकार है हेल्थ के लिए. ठीक है, खाने में ठीक है लेकिन बेकार है। तो फ्रेश और मिनिमली प्रोसेस जितना ज्यादा हो, ज्यादा समय फ्रिज में रख के मत खाओ। लॉन्डे होते हैं ना, वो एक पिज्जा लाए उसे रखे हुए हैं, हर बार चखने के साथ वही चल रहा है, ऐसा मत करो, नया पिज्जा ले लो, ठीक है। बियर नहीं ले रहे हो ना, हाँ तो कोई नहीं, चोरी कर लो, क्या हो गया, ठीक है, पास वाले का फर्नीचर बेच देना, ठीक है। स्ट्रीट फूड मैंने आपको बताया दिया, सेम प्रॉब्लम है, ट्राई टू प्रमोट देयर न्यूट्रिशनल सेफ्टी एंड क्वालिटी। वो हाथ वाला न्यूट्रिशन हमें नहीं चाहिए, प्रॉपर ग्लव्स वगैरह पहने होने चाहिए, देन इट्स बेटर। एंड मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द, अगर आपको बताओ व्हिच इज द लार्जेस्ट डिजीज इन इंडिया, डायरिया। सबसे ज्यादा इंडियंस को क्या होता है, डायरिया, क्योंकि हम खाते ही अंडरस्टैंड है, ठीक है। दिस इज द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम, डायरिया, मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पीपल इन इंडिया गेट इल बिकॉज ऑफ डायरिया, एंड डायरिया हैपेंस बिकॉज व्हेन यू ईट अनहाइजीनिक फूड। ये कहीं से भी कुछ भी चाट भल्ले पेल दिए, बात समझ में आई, प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट। अब देखते हैं हाउ इंडिया डील्स विद फूड सिक्योरिटी। इंडिया डील्स विद फूड सिक्योरिटी थ्रू पीडीएस, पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम, ठीक है। दिस सिस्टम एट द बिगिनिंग, ये मैंने शायद पहले भी बताया था आपको, at the beginning of sowing season of kharif and rabi crop, the government declares MSP, the minimum support price, for 23 crops that the farmers are willing to sell to FCI, Food Corporation of India. Basically government declares MSP, you go to sarkari mandi, you give that food to FCI at MSP, that food goes to the godown. क्या हुआ, अच्छा, that food goes to the godown of FCI. From FCI, that food is given to the states. The state then identify the beneficiary and give food to them through PDS outlets known as fair price shops, ठीक है। तो मान लेते हैं गवर्नमेंट विल गिव MSP, मान लेते हैं 20 rupees on a commodity, but at fair price shop you will get that food at 2 rupees. So what is government subsidy? 18 rupees, ठीक है। ये सब इसमें लिखा है, दैट्स हाउ गवर्नमेंट इंश्योर योर, बेसिकली द डिफरेंस बिटवीन एमएसपी एंड फेयर प्राइस इज फूड सब्सिडी। एंड हाउ वी डिसाइड एमएसपी, ये याद रखिएगा सब लोग। कमीशन ऑन एग्रीकल्चर कॉस्ट एंड प्राइसिंग डिसाइड्स एमएसपी, रिकमेंड्स टू CCEA, कैबिनेट कमिटी ऑन इकोनॉमिक अफेयर्स, CCEA, एंड CCEA इंप्लीमेंट MSP, ठीक है। प्रोसेस क्लियर है। MSP you declare, you procure the food, you give to the state give to the fair price shop, and fair price shop to ration card holders. That's how we ensure food security in India. Second law that we have is, हाँ तो उसमें आया तो पढ़ा दिया, नेशनल फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट। नेशनल फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट में what we have is around 67% of Indians are covered, और एक प्रोविजन इसमें याद रखिए, 75% रूरल एंड 50% urban. You will get 5 kg of food grains per person per month at 3 rupees, 2 rupees, 1 rupees for rice, wheat and coarse millet, ठीक है। एनीवे प्रीवियस क्लास में हमने किया था, तो आई गिव यू अ रफ आइडिया, क्लियर। 22 क्रॉप्स हैं, 1 शुगर केन का अलग से मैकेनिज्म है, उसमें वो गवर्नमेंट मिक्स अश्योर्ड प्राइस करवाती है शुगर मिल से, वो अलग मैकेनिज्म है। वैसे 22 क्रॉप्स का MSP होता है, एक क्रॉप होती है आपकी शुगर केन, उसका अश्योर्ड प्राइस मैकेनिज्म है, वो अलग है, क्लियर। और मैंने आपको किसमें, किस चीज में, तो MSP नहीं है उसमें, मैंने बताया तो आपको 22 क्रॉप्स हैं, शुगर केन का अश्योर्ड प्राइस है, MSP नहीं होता उसका, पर हम किसमें क्या दे रखी है, शुगर केन दे रखा है गूगल में, तो यू आर सेइंग 23 क्रॉप प्लस शुगर केन है, तो हो सकता है 23 प्लस 1 होगा 4, जो भी आप चेक कर लेना क्रॉप, लेकिन क्रॉप्स याद रखिएगा सारी, which are the crops in kharif, which are the crops in rabi and the other kind of crops, do remember them। UPSC हर बार पूछ लेता है कि ये क्रॉप है, ये क्रॉप नहीं है, बताओ है या नहीं है, ठीक है। प्रीलिम्स में इट बिकम्स वेरी नेसेसरी। चलिए अगला, इंडिया श्रीलंका रिलेशन, इसको मैं समराइज करता हूं जल्दी से। तो रिसेंटली बेसिकली द रनिल विक्रम सिंघे, ठीक है, he is the president of Sri Lanka, he has arrived in India on July 20 for formal visit। ये कुछ भंगार MOU हमने साइन किए थे, पता नहीं किसकी चीज में, एनिमल हस्बेंड्री, डेयरिंग, रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, बट देखिए वर्ड क्या है इसमें, इट इज अ मेमोरेंडम ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग, इट डज नॉट मीन अग्रीमेंट। अग्रीमेंट अलग होता है, MOU अलग होता है। MOU का बता रहा हूँ, रुक जाओ थोड़ी सेकंड. एमओ का बेसिक मतलब होता है दैट यू अग्री ऑन द प्रिंसिपल्स, दैट यू एंड आई अग्री on the principles that we, for example, animal husbandry and dairying. So you and I agree on the principles. Now we will finalize an agreement. उसके लिए क्या होता है? Both bureaucrats from India and Sri Lanka will sit together. They will negotiate with each other कि this will be this, that will be this. After that, an agreement will come. So MOU is the starting point of an agreement. MOU does not mean that that has been implemented. First you sign MOU, then meetings happen, you negotiate everything you want to negotiate, then comes the final agreement. बात समझ में? तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफन प्लेस दिस, गवर्नमेंट कहती है हमने 50 एमओयू साइन करे, हो सकता है एक भी ना इंप्लीमेंट हो. एमओयू इज डिफरेंट, इंप्लीमेंटेड अग्रीमेंट्स आर डिफरेंट. क्लियर? तो वी हैव साइंड जॉइंट डिक्लेरेशन. देखिए क्या लिखा है इसमें, इंटेंड. इसका मतलब ये नहीं इंप्लीमेंट हो जाएगा, बस इंटेंशन है हमारी फिलहाल. एमओयू ऑन कॉपरेशन इन द फील्ड ऑफ रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, एमओ on economic development project in Tenkomale, district of Sri Lanka. Network agreement between NIPL whatever Lanka, किसके लिए? UPI के लिए. उसके अलावा एनर्जी परमिट ऑन सोलर पावर. अब मेन चीज है इश्यूज में, जल्दी से बता दें, समराइज, टाइम नहीं है हमारे पास. सो व्हाट आर द इश्यूज बिटवीन इंडिया श्रीलंका व्हिच आर मोर इंपॉर्टेंट? तो बकवास है. द इश्यूज दैट आर इंपॉर्टेंट इज, पहला फिशरमैन इशू. There is an island between India and Sri Lanka that is called Kachatibu Island that was given by Indian government to the Sri Lanka. अब problem ये है, the Tamil Nadu fishermen used to fish there. अब often Indian fishermen go there, the Sri Lankan Navy often arrest them, fires them, and even some farmers some fishermen have been killed. It's a big issue. Tamil Nadu government feels that Indian government should not have given that island to Sri Lanka. Because we historically had this island, किसी जमाने में हमारे कंट्रोल में रहा होगा. क्लियर? एक ही इशू है. दूसरा इशू है जेनोसाइड का. When civil war was going on in Sri Lanka, and what was the reason? If you remember, इंडिया में भी हम ऐसे कुछ लॉ लाने वाले हैं. The reason was Citizenship Act and Official Language Act. Because understand this, Britishers took Tamilians majority as laborer there. They were taken as laborer. Over time, they raised in Sri Lanka. And Britishers had the policy of divide and rule. So they promoted Tamil Hindus at the cost of Sinhalese Buddhists, which are the native Sri Lankas. यहाँ तक समझ में आया? So what happened? Over time, the Tamilian Hindus, they captured all state power. They were in bureaucracy, they were in legislature, they were the most powerful community there. The Sinhalese, they were the nationalists. They opposed the British rule. The Tamilian Hindu supported the British rule. So same way, for example, same if you compare that with India. In India, except Indian National Congress, nobody wanted Britishers to leave India. Ambedkar in particular appealed Britishers, please stay in India. He opposed Quit India movement. What was his argument? He believed that this society is dominated by Brahmins. It is Brahminvad, not Hinduvad. He believed that India is Brahmin. Hinduism is a word, but actual meaning is Brahminism. So he believed once the Britishers will leave India, the Brahmins will become the dominant community and they will control India. And again, we will come to square one. Because during British rule, the lower castes were promoted. They were given facilities, but nobody else. ये बात समझ में आया? So he opposed. Hindu Mahasabha opposed. Hindu Mahasabha was also like Britishers say कि you stay. All bodies except Indian National Congress, nobody wanted Britishers to leave. Everyone for their purpose. Now, did we punish them after independence? No. After independence, we said, fine. You may have done something, fine. Let's forget the past, think about the future. A person who opposed Quit India movement, we made him the chairman of the drafting committee. That's how you integrate a society. हमने उनसे ये नहीं बोला तुम देशद्रोही हो, ये हो, वो हो. Same thing I told you earlier also, when India got independence, on that day of independence, there were people on the street crying out loud, this independence is a lie. The socialist people. वो कहते हैं आजादी झूठी है. सोचिए जिस दिन आप आजाद हुए उस दिन लोग सड़कों पे बोलते जा रहे हैं. हमने उन्हें देशद्रोही नहीं बोला, जैसे आजकल फैशन बन गया ना, तू भी देशद्रोही, तू भी देशद्रोही, हमने ऐसा नहीं बोला. वी डिड नॉट कॉल देम ट्रेटर्स. वी वर लाइक इट्स फाइन, इट्स योर ओपिनियन. That's how you integrate society. If you will, it is often said, if you will remain a prisoner of past, you will never enjoy your present and you will surely destroy your future. Past में जो हुआ ठीक है, बुरा हुआ, अच्छा हुआ, put it aside. Think about the future and live in your present. बात समझ में आई? इतने समझदार लोग हर कोई नहीं होता, तो श्रीलंका में नहीं थे. Sri Lankan people, when they came to power, when Britishers leave Sri Lanka, they were like, अब आएगा मजा. And they enacted Citizenship Act. जैसे हमने इनेक्ट किया, आपको पता होगा, उसका कभी मौका मिलेगा तो करेंगे हम. द सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट, जिसके खिलाफ प्रोटेस्ट हुए थे, सेम दे एनेक्टेड. और मुझे लिटरली समझ नहीं आता, लोगों को समझ नहीं आता है या करना नहीं चाहते हैं. हिस्ट्री में इतने एग्जांपल्स हैं वेयर यू डिस्क्रिमिनेटेड अ कम्युनिटी एंड यू एंडेड इन अ सिविल वॉर. न्यूमरस एग्जांपल्स है. यू लुक एट म्यांमार. म्यांमार में सेम चीज हुई. द म्यांमार मिलिट्री ब्रॉट सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट and they amended the citizenship law to say that the Rohingya Muslim will no longer be citizens. कोई क्राइटेरिया कि आपके 4 फैमिली म्यांमार में हो, इन्होंने भी यही करा. They said you will be Sri Lankan by citizenship if your 3 families, 3 generations were in India. Oh sorry, were in same. हम एक लॉ लाए हैं प्यारा सा, which says the same thing, which says that you have to prove particularly NRC से हम बोल रहे हैं, National Register of Citizens. In that you have to prove that your grandparents and parents did not come out from outside of India. कितने लोगों पे बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट है भाई इंडिया में? आपकी जनरेशन पे होगा भी, हमारे पास भी है, लेकिन अर्लियर जनरेशन नेवर यूज्ड टू हैड बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट. बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट छोड़ो, उनके पास पेपर नहीं होता है कोई. तभी तो हमने सिटीजनशिप लॉ, सॉरी, राइट टू एजुकेशन एक्ट में व्हाट वी सेड, irrespective of the person, even if they do not have the document, you cannot deny them education. You got a reason, documents नहीं होते हैं. सेम चीज हम कर रहे हैं, अननेसेसरी स्टूपिडिटी, सेम चीज दे डिड. समझ में आया व्हाट हैपेंड? तो सिटीजनशिप लॉ दे ब्रॉट, मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द तमिलियन हिंदूज दे बिकम सिटीजनशिप लेस, एंड देन स्टार्ट्स अ वॉर. लिट्टे लिबरेशन टाइगर तमिल इलम समथिंग करके, लिट्टे प्रभाकरम द पर्सन वाज देयर. लिट्टे हैड अ इनोवेटिव आइडिया कॉल्ड सुसाइड बॉम्बिंग. उन्होंने बहुत इस्तेमाल किया था सुसाइड बॉम्बिंग का. तो लिट्टे, हाँ, राजीव गांधी को भी उन्होंने टपकाया था. तो अब लिट्टे, अब इमेजिन दिस, व्हाट इज अ टेररिस्ट? व्हाट डू यू थिंक, हु इज अ टेररिस्ट और व्हाट इज अ टेररिज्म? टेररिस्ट व्हाई सब पीपल, व्हाट इज टेररिज्म? आपको क्या लगता है टेररिज्म क्या होगा? बेसिकली टेररिज्म, हम एक अगर एक पैरामीटर कुछ देखना चाहें, इफ यू वांट टू पिक वन पैरामीटर, जैसे हम कह सकते हैं दिस पर्सन इज अ टेररिस्ट, एट लीस्ट वी कैन से किलिंग इनोसेंट ऑफ एनी टाइप. ठीक है, किलिंग इनोसेंट. लिट्टे किल्ड अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल थ्रू सुसाइड बॉम्बिंग. वुड वी कॉल देम टेररिस्ट? डेफिनेशन अप्लाई करें तो करेंगे. गवर्नमेंट ने कभी नहीं बोला. इंडियन गवर्नमेंट नेवर कंसिडर देम टेररिस्ट. ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, somebody's terrorist is always somebody's patriot. It happens always. For example, Bhagat Singh threw a bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly, जैसे आज की पार्लियामेंट. तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया मान लेते हैं टुडे ब्रिंग्स अ लॉ, यू डिसलाइक इट, योर कम्युनिटी डिसलाइक इट. मान लो जाटों के खिलाफ एक लॉ आया, ठीक है, वैसे ही उन्होंने म्यूजिक लगा लेना तुरंत. दे आर लाइक, अब हम पंगा लेंगे इनसे. तो डू दे हैव द राइट, समबडी इन द जाट कम्युनिटी, डू दे हैव द राइट टू थ्रो अ बॉम्ब इन द पार्लियामेंट? वो किसी को मारेंगे नहीं. जस्ट लाइक भगत सिंह, they will not kill anyone, they will just make the government hear their voice. So would the government treat them with honored respect? नहीं भाई गलती हो गई, sorry, माफ करो. Or would they execute that person? On terrorism ground, same thing was done by Britishers. For Britishers, Bhagat Singh was a terrorist because he threw a bomb in Central Legislative Assembly. For us, he is a patriot because he did that crime for us. Always remember, somebody's terrorist is always somebody's patriot. It depends आप कहाँ खड़े हो. A Jammu Kashmiri separatist could be a terrorist for us, but a patriot for Jammu Kashmiri who do not want to be part of India. Manipur में the people who did this heinous crime may be abhorrible terrorists for us, but for the Meitei community they are patriot. They were taking revenge. बात समझ में आई? So same thing happened here. We were like, Litte is a very mast group. ठीक है, and Litte was doing all this. We support, and everybody knew we supported Litte, and Litte was carrying out these activities. A civil war continued in Sri Lanka for a long time. Catch comes at the ending days of civil war. I think 2005-6 में कभी end हुई है ये, 9 में. During the ending days of civil war, what happened? The Sri Lankan army committed a genocide. And why is it so? देखिए, सीधी सी बात है, if you are in a war, you lose people. Of course, Sri Lankan army must have lost people. When this was the ending days, they literally committed a genocide. They were like, अब हमारे पास power है, we have won the war, अब हम बदला लेंगे. And that is one of the issue between India and Sri Lanka. We want everyone who committed that genocide of the Tamilian Hindus must be punished. Do you think Sri Lanka will ever do this? No government punish their army. No government, irrespective of the nature of government. Russian soldiers are doing a lot of things in Ukraine, but the Russian government will never punish them. उनको medal मिलेगा. Oh, 3 रेप करके आए, ये लो gold medal. 4 करके आए, ये लो silver medal. Why is it so? Because you need a force that works on command. अब imagine कीजिए, you are a IPS, you are a SP मान लेते हैं करोल बाग में. Students are protesting, we need extra time in UPSC. Order comes from the above, do a lathi charge. You committed a lathi charge because आपके पास power कुछ नहीं है, order मानना पड़ेगा. And then when protest followed after that, मान लेते हैं जो स्टूडेंट पीसफुल थे वो वायलेंट हो गए, और उसके बाद गवर्नमेंट कहती है भाई हमने कुछ नहीं कहा, इसने करा है. अगली बार कोई ऑर्डर आएगा किसी भी एसपी को, वो मानेगा? इसलिए आर्मी पनिश नहीं करी जाती. बिकॉज पॉलिटिशियंस वांट अ पर्सन हु पुल्स द ट्रिगर without thinking the person in front of him is a patriot, is girl, is man, is child, doesn't matter. They want a person who pull the trigger on command. But if you punish them for wrongdoing, the next time when he will be pulling a trigger, he will be like, यार तुम तो बोल के भाग जाते हो, एंड में फंसता मैं हूं. सबको समझ में आ रहा है? नो गवर्नमेंट इन द वर्ल्ड पनिशेस देयर आर्मी. अब ठीक है, आई एग्री, इट्स अ सैड फैक्ट, बट इट इज नॉनदलेस अ फैक्ट. तो ये सबसे बड़ा इशू है इंडिया श्रीलंका रिलेशन में. वी वांट देम टू पनिश देयर आर्म्ड फोर्सेस फॉर द जेनोसाइड दे कमिटेड विद द तमिलियन हिंदूज, व्हिच आई कैन पर्सनली गारंटी वो करने वाले हैं नहीं. और वैसे भी आधे लोग तो मर ही चुके होंगे अभी तक जिन्होंने काम किया. जब वो मर जाएंगे फिर श्रीलंकन गवर्नमेंट बोलेगी चलो अब मैं पनिश कर देती हूँ सबको. ठीक है, वो एक ऑर्डर पास करेंगे, सारे जितने भी लोग इस जेनोसाइड में इन्वॉल्व थे श्रीलंकन आर्मी के, सबको मैं डेथ पेनल्टी देती हूँ. ठीक है, वो तो मर ही चुके हैं हम लोग. बात समझ में आई? बिफोर दैट इट विल नॉट हैपन. पहला इशू क्लियर. दूसरा इशू फिशरमैन का है. तीसरा इशू है अमेंडमेंट का. 13 नोट्स में है, 13 अमेंडमेंट टू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ श्रीलंकन गवर्नमेंट्स. अंडर दिस अमेंडमेंट द नॉर्दर्न रीजन ऑफ श्रीलंका इज डोमिनेटेड बाय तमिलियन हिंदूज. दे वांट लिबर्टी, दे वांट ऑटोनॉमी टू गवर्न. अब सोचिए, मोदी गवर्नमेंट who removed 370 which gave autonomy to Jammu Kashmir is saying to Sri Lanka, please give autonomy to northern Sri Lanka. नागालैंड मुस्लिम नहीं है ना. नागालैंड डज नॉट चेक द राइट बॉक्स. देखिए, नागालैंड में आप इंडिया पाकिस्तान भी नहीं कर पाओगे, नागालैंड में आप हिंदू मुस्लिम भी नहीं कर पाओगे, तो क्या फायदा. जम्मू कश्मीर टिक्स ऑल द राइट बॉक्सेस. इंडिया पाकिस्तान चेक, हिंदू मुस्लिम चेक. ये है इशू. Anyway, we have the same kind of liberty. So that is the problem, that we can command, we will say them, we are saying them, give more autonomy to your northern province. Ab put yourself like a Sri Lankan, that too a singly Sri Lankan. That's you put yourself a Hindu Indian and then you judge Jammu Kashmiri. Same way, imagine a singly nationalist. वो ये टॉलरेट करेगा कि नॉर्दर्न श्रीलंका विल हैव मोर ऑटोनॉमी लाइक इंडिपेंडेंट स्टेट, जैसे जम्मू कश्मीर का पास राइट थे. दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम. आई ऑलवेज से नेशनलिज्म इज अ वेरी गुड आइडिया अनटिल अनलेस यू आर नॉट द विक्टिम. जिस दिन आप विक्टिम बनते हो देन यू आर पेन्ड कि यार कोई सुन क्यों नहीं रहा मेरी, मैं इतनी जोर से चीख रही हूं, चीख रहा हूं कि कोई तो सुन लो. एंड दे आर लाइक नो, नेशनलिज्म फर्स्ट. Got the point? So it always depends where you stand. Depending on that, somebody's become a terrorist, somebody's become a patriot. Depending on the place you are, same event may become justice, same event may become atrocity. For Sinhalese, it's justice. You supported Britishers, we fought against Britishers, you have no right to live in Sri Lanka. But because from our perspective, it is injustice. समझ में आया? इट्स ऑल अबाउट वेयर यू स्टैंड. क्लियर टू एवरीवन? हमारा टाइम से ज्यादा हो गया. क्लियर है? आई हैव गिवन यू समरी, बाकी यू कैन रीड इन द न्यूज. चलिए, बाय बाय देन. वी विल मीट अगेन टुमारो. सॉरी, टुमारो वी विल मीट अगेन फॉर इकोनॉमी और व्हाटएवर वी डू. ये इन्होंने फिर लगा दी, पहले तो नहीं थी ये. बहुत इनजस्टिस हो रहा है मेरे साथ. अभी रुको, प्रिया से बात करता हूँ. क्या हो गया ऐसे? चलिए, बाय बाय एवरीवन. वी विल मीट अगेन व्हेनेवर पॉसिबल.